Chapter 1259. Nine-Colored Auspicious Clouds. It's actually nine-colored auspicious clouds. Has someone else become a holy emperor on the Tianyuan continent? Several saint rulers flew up from the forbidden grounds of Chanyang Prefecture. They all cried out as they stared at the nine-colored auspicious clouds in the sky in shock. These saint rulers had all left Chanyang Prefecture with Chanyang Zhu Shao and Chanyang Ziyan Shao. They were all direct descendants of the Zhu branch, and any one of them would possess an astonishing level of seniority in Chanyang Prefecture. In terms of seniority, they could all be regarded as Jinshin's great-grandfathers. Chanyang Zuyun stared blankly at the nine-colored auspicious clouds in the sky as her expression became extremely colorful. Today was supposed to be a joyous occasion for her breaking through to Saint Ruler and becoming a holy emperor. Seven-colored auspicious clouds had descended to announce the birth of another holy emperor on the Tianyuan continent. However, Chanyang Ziyun had never thought that as soon as the seven-colored rainbow clouds had appeared, they would be completely drowned out by the nine-colored clouds. Chanyang Zuyun felt an indescribable feeling. Houston only broke through to great perfection recently and became a holy emperor, becoming the second holy emperor on the Tianyuan continent. I never thought that another holy emperor would be born on the Tianyuan continent in such a short amount of time. It really is unbelievable. Is it really so easy to become a holy emperor now? Chanyang Zuyun Shao stared at the sky as he spoke with mixed feelings. Chanyang Zhu Shao gently sighed. From today onwards, our Tianyuan continent will have 3 holy emperors. I just wonder who it is that has become a holy emperor. Is it one of the 10 protector clans? Or is it some other organization or even a hermit? Our Tianyuan continent has 3 holy emperor experts now. Our peak strength is on par with the beast god continent. It doesn't matter who it is, they've increased our strength at the very least. If the beast god continent wants to continue invading our continent, they'll have to consider it carefully. Although the glory of breaking through to the Holy Emperor had been suppressed by the Holy Emperor, she did not feel unhappy at all. Instead, she felt some joy. If the 7-colored rainbow clouds that Chanyang Ziyan had summoned when she became a Holy Emperor had only caused a slight sigh from a few Holy Emperor experts, the appearance of the 9-colored rainbow clouds had shaken up the entire continent once again. All the Holy Emperor experts on the continent were shocked. They were filled with envy and jealousy. The Holy Emperor realm was an unreachable realm in the eyes of all saint rulers, but it was a realm that all the Holy Emperor experts on the Tianyuan continent yearned to reach. However, breaking through to the Holy Emperor realm was extremely difficult now. There were many geniuses on the populous continent, but reaching the great perfection of the Holy Emperor realm would not be a problem for them. But becoming a Holy Emperor was almost impossible. Just when the Grand Elder was about to leave for Mercenary City, he discovered that the 7-colored rainbow clouds in the sky had already dispersed. They had been replaced by 9-colored clouds. Obviously, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City knew extremely well what the 9-colored clouds represented. His face immediately became stunned as he stared at the clouds in the sky in a daze. He was unable to return to his senses even after quite a while. It had only been half a year since Houston had become a holy emperor, yet another holy emperor had appeared on the Tianyuan continent. All the holy emperor experts who were used to the birth of a holy emperor every 1,000 years or even several thousand years were rather stunned by this. The space around the Grand Elder began to pulse. In just a few seconds, several dozen experts had appeared around him. None of them were weaker than saint rulers, and there were even several holy emperor experts among them. 9-colored clouds descended from the sky, attracting all the experts of Mercenary City. Another person has become a holy emperor. I wonder who it is. The identity of the person who has become a holy emperor will be revealed in 3 days. The 2 holy emperor experts from Mercenary City murmured after being stunned for a while. The 3 great empires of the Tianyuan continent, the 10 protector clans, the many ancient clans, and even a few independent Holy Emperor experts who did not belong to any organization and cultivated deep in the mountains all emerged from seclusion at this moment. In a primeval forest that was shrouded in mist all year round, a very dilapidated thatched hut stood there quietly. The roars of magical beasts in the surroundings were incessant, and from time to time, a deafening beast roar resounded through the sky. This was the roar of a rank 6 magical beast, and there was more than one of them. However, these magical beasts were all surrounding the dilapidated thatched hut. Even though the location of the thatched hut was the place where the heaven-earth yuan qi was the most abundant in this primeval forest, not a single magical beast dared to set foot in this area. They did not even dare to get within 3,000 meters of the hut. However, at this moment, a wrinkled, ordinary-looking old man in sackcloth walked out of the hut with a hunched back. He raised his head to look at the sky, and a gleam of light immediately flashed through his aged eyes. However, he soon let out a long sigh and said, "I never thought that someone would become a holy emperor so soon. I've already remained at great perfection for several hundred years. I don't have much time left, yet I still can't break through. I wonder if I still have the chance to become a holy emperor." In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The 9-colored clouds in the sky still did not disperse, but a strange pulse appeared from afar. Without any hesitation, all the holy emperor experts immediately ripped open space gates and hurried in the direction of the pulse. Many of them wanted to know who had become a holy emperor. At this moment, in an ancient mountain range several million kilometers away from Mercenary City, a white-robed, middle-aged man currently sat on the highest sword-shaped mountain peak with his eyes closed. He radiated with an extremely tremendous presence. Terrifying energy pulsed from his body in an extremely unstable manner, shooting out from his body from time to time and causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Several thousand meters away from the middle-aged man, space gates appeared one after another. Various holy emperor experts walked out from them. There were experts from Mercenary City, the 3 empires, the ancient clans, and the 10 protector clans. There were even many independent holy emperors. As soon as these people arrived, their gazes landed on the middle-aged man who sat cross-legged at the top of the mountain. Many of their faces immediately changed. Chapter 1260. The holy emperor experts who had come from Mercenary City immediately became overjoyed. They were all overjoyed because the person who had become a holy emperor this time was their great elder, Tian Jian. Fantastic, fantastic. Great Elder Tian Jian has finally broken through in the final moments of his life. He's become a holy emperor and possesses a lifespan of 10,000 years. From today onwards, our Mercenary City finally has a holy emperor. The holy emperor experts from Mercenary City were all overjoyed when they saw Tian Jian radiate with the presence of a holy emperor. From their expressions, it was as if the person who had broken through was not Tian Jian, but them. However, the people from the protector clans all frowned. Other than the holy emperor experts from the Pure Heart Pavilion and the Tyrant's Blade School, as well as Changyang Zuyin Xiao, and Changyang Zhu Xiao, who had hurried over from the kingdom of Jessen, all the other holy emperor experts from the protector clans revealed very ugly expressions. Tian Jian becoming a holy emperor was definitely a joyous matter for Mercenary City, but it was not something that most of the people from the protector clans wished to see. They would rather see the person who had become a holy emperor be from any one of the protector clans than someone from Mercenary City. This was because there was a supreme divine hall in Mercenary City. The divine hall had been left behind by the greatest human expert in ancient times, Mo Tianyan. Its toughness had completely surpassed any divine hall on the Tian Yuan continent, reaching an unimaginable level. This was because even if a holy emperor used his full strength, he would not be able to leave a single mark on the divine hall. Probably only someone who had surpassed the holy emperor and reached the origin realm could break through the divine hall. Not only did the divine hall left behind by Mo Tianyan make all the holy emperor experts despair in terms of defense, it also possessed an ability that no divine hall on the Tian Yuan continent had ever possessed before, which was offensive power. Not only could the divine hall be used to block the attacks of any holy emperor, but could also be used to attack anyone. Many years ago, a great battle had erupted between Mercenary City and the Protector clans of the Tian-Yuan continent. During that battle, many of the Protector clans worked together to suppress Mercenary City. In the end, a holy emperor of Mercenary City used the Divine Hall to attack, using the Divine Hall to kill over 10 holy emperor experts from the Protector clans all by himself. This shook up the entire continent and defended Mercenary City's unshakable status on the continent. In the eyes of the 10 Protector clans, the Divine Hall of Mercenary City was even more terrifying than the Barrier Spirit. This was because the Barrier Spirit only protected Mercenary City from being attacked. It was a type of defensive power and would not actively attack. However, the Divine Hall was different. As long as there was a holy emperor in Mercenary City, he could control the Divine Hall to go anywhere. It was even entirely possible for him to use the Divine Hall to attack the Protector clans. The Divine Hall of Mercenary City had once been an invincible existence when the Protector clans were at their peak. Every single clan possessed several holy emperor experts. No one could stop them, but now the Protector clans were nowhere near as powerful as they were in the past. They did not even have a single holy emperor. Even if they used everything they had, they would not be able to contend against the Divine Hall of Mercenary City with such weak strength. Although they knew that it was impossible for Mercenary City to move against the Protector clans, the balance of power between the Protector clans and Mercenary City had been completely broken. They needed to be on guard. At this moment, the tremendous presence around Tian slowly withdrew. Even the unstable pulses of energy within him completely vanished. He had completely controlled the sudden surge of energy from becoming a holy emperor. Afterwards, he slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was extremely calm, but it was as deep as ink. Congratulations, great elder Tianjian, on becoming a holy emperor. As soon as Tianjian stood up, all the holy emperor experts in the distance came over to congratulate him. Their voices were filled with deep envy. Aside from the Protector clans, the other holy emperor experts did not have any special thoughts about Tianjian becoming a holy emperor. This was because to them, it did not matter whether Mercenary City had a holy emperor or not. Even if Mercenary City did not have a holy emperor, it was still a tremendous existence in their eyes that could not be provoked. The holy emperor experts of the Protector clans all congratulated Tianjian as well. Although many of them did not wish to see a holy emperor appear in Mercenary City, they needed to lower their heads now. Several million kilometers away in Mercenary City, the commotion caused by the 9-colored clouds in the sky had completely subsided. However, there were still many people who discussed the rumors regarding the 9-colored clouds. But even more people were discussing the identity and background of the person who had become a holy emperor. The lowest mercenaries and small clans probably did not know what the 9-colored cloud signified, but it was no secret to most people in Mercenary City. This was because quite a few of the people gathered in Mercenary City came from hermit clans or even ancient clans. They had all heard of the legends of clouds accompanying every breakthrough above Saint Ruler. As a result, people could be heard talking about a certain great figure of the Tian-Yuan continent in the restaurants and streets of Mercenary City. Some people said it was a member of the 10 Protector clans, while others said it was a member of an ancient clan. There were even some people who said it was a hermit, independent cultivator, and so on. In short, no one thought that the person who had become a holy emperor this time would be a great elder of Mercenary City. They all believed that if someone from Mercenary City became a holy emperor, it would definitely be in the city. However, almost all the holy emperor experts had left Mercenary City to learn who had become a holy emperor. The person who had become a holy emperor clearly did not belong to Mercenary City. Just as everyone was discussing enthusiastically, Mercenary City suddenly began to tremble violently. It was like an earthquake had occurred. The tremors were extremely violent, causing many people in Mercenary City to almost fall to the ground due to being caught off guard. What's going on? What's happening? Earthquake. Earthquake. Mercenary City is having an earthquake. Bullshit. What kind of place is Mercenary City? Don't forget that there's a powerful barrier spirit protecting this place. How can there be an earthquake? The sudden tremors in Mercenary City immediately startled everyone. Many people ran onto the streets in a panic as they looked around in surprise and doubt. None of the people who could come to Mercenary City were weak, let alone a small earthquake. They had even seen landslides and tsunamis that were even more terrifying than an earthquake. The reason why they were so flustered by the sudden earthquake was because the earthquake did not occur in any of the ordinary cities outside. Instead, it occurred in Mercenary City. This was because all of them knew that Mercenary City was protected by a powerful barrier. Since ancient times, no one had been able to break through the barrier, which was why it was no exaggeration to call Mercenary City the safest place on the Tian-Yuan continent. The city protected by the barrier was always peaceful, and no one had ever heard of an earthquake. Boom! Chapter 1261. Everyone leave Mercenary City. A clear voice rang out from afar. It came from a Heaven Saint Master in Mercenary City. His voice was extremely loud, basically echoing through half of the city. With that, everyone in Mercenary City returned to their senses. Looking at the expanding crack on the ground, no one dared to remain in the city any longer. They all flew out of the city as quickly as they could. Mercenary City had always been peaceful ever since it had been founded, so it was far too abnormal for such a violent earthquake to occur. Basically, everyone sensed that something major had probably happened to Mercenary City. Swish! A whistling sound rang out from the sky. A Heaven Saint Master flew through the air as he was enveloped by faint, azure wind-attributed saint force. He shot through the air as an azure streak of light, quickly making his way out of Mercenary City. Heavens, has this person gone mad? He's actually flying in Mercenary City. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the barrier? Even if he's fleeing for his life, there's no need to do this. Doesn't he know that flying is forbidden in Mercenary City? Flying in Mercenary City is a privilege that only the upper echelon of Mercenary City can enjoy, and these upper echelon are no weaker than saint rulers. Not only is this person a Heaven Saint Master, but he's not a member of Mercenary City either. He's dead for sure. This Heaven Saint Master is doomed. Let's see just what kind of punishment he'll receive. Many of the fleeing cultivators sneered inside when they saw the Heaven Saint Master who dared to fly in Mercenary City. Many of them were already prepared to see the fate of the Heaven Saint Master. There were quite a few Heaven Saint Masters among the cultivators who fled out of the city, but they all chose to run on the ground. None of them dared to fly in the air. However, the cultivators who had come to watch the show waited for a very long time. Not only did the flying Heaven Saint Master fail to receive the punishment they had imagined, he had even flown out of Mercenary City in an extremely short amount of time. What's going on? Why wasn't that Heaven Saint Master punished by the barrier? Were the rumors false? Impossible. Rumors can't be false. 10 years ago, I personally witnessed a Heaven Saint Master flying through Mercenary City get heavily injured by a barrier that descended from the sky. Is the Heaven Saint Master that just flew by some important person in Mercenary City, which is why he received special treatment? A black-clothed old man asked in doubt. He was also a Heaven Saint Master, but he dared not fly in Mercenary City. Instead, he quickly ran on the ground. Everyone look! The barrier that enveloped Mercenary City has disappeared. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from the distance. Hearing this, everyone immediately raised their heads to look at the sky. However, when they saw the scene in the sky, all of them were so shocked that their mouths were wide open. Their faces were filled with disbelief. This was because the huge barrier that had always enveloped Mercenary City was rapidly fading. In less than a few seconds, the barrier that had existed for countless years without any problems had actually vanished into thin air. Everyone's hearts sank when they saw this. This was an extremely bad omen. Basically, all of them could sense that something shocking was about to happen to Mercenary City. As soon as they thought of that, all of them began to flee even faster. Without the threat of the barrier, all the Heaven Saint Masters became fearless. They all rose into the air, shooting out of the city as streaks of light. At the same time, several dozen Holy Emperor experts hovered high in the sky in the center of Mercenary City. They were extremely stern as they glanced at the barrier that had vanished and the ground that was violently shaking from time to time. What has happened to our mercenary city? Why has the barrier suddenly disappeared? And why has there suddenly been an earthquake? A saint ruler could not help but cry out when he saw the palm-wide cracks in the ground. They all knew that the ground of Mercenary City had been protected by the barrier for generations, making the ground as tough as steel. Even saint rulers would not be able to leave behind a single mark on the ground with their full strength. Yet now, the ground of Mercenary City that had never been damaged had actually become so damaged, which filled all of them with disbelief. Use a secret technique to contact the Grand Elder and the others, a saint ruler anxiously said. Although they were the upper echelon of Mercenary City, they were all saint rulers. Basically, all the holy emperor experts in Mercenary City had fled, so they were completely helpless against the sudden change in Mercenary City. At this moment, the holy emperor experts from the various organizations of the Tianyuan continent were still gathered in the ancient mountain range where Tianjin had become a holy emperor. They congratulated Tianjin one by one and did not forget to ask him about his experience in becoming a holy emperor. The holy emperor experts from Mercenary City were all excited. Their smiles were brighter than anyone else's. Great Elder Tianjin had become a holy emperor. The significance of this was just too great for Mercenary City. However, at this moment, the Grand Elder's face suddenly changed. He had already received a message from Mercenary City through a secret technique, learning about the changes in Mercenary City. The Grand Elder's face immediately became extremely ugly. He immediately turned to the Holy Emperor experts beside him and said, "Oh no, something huge has happened in Mercenary City. Elders, immediately return to Mercenary City as quickly as possible. Do not waste a single moment." "All right, we'll return immediately." The Holy Emperor experts of Mercenary City could tell how serious the Grand Elder's loss of composure was from his expression. Without any hesitation, they immediately created a space gate and hurried back to Mercenary City. The Grand Elder did not return with them. He arrived beside Tianjin in a flash and said through a communication technique, "Great Elder, I've just received a message from Mercenary City. Something huge has happened in Mercenary City. The protective barrier has vanished and the entire city has been violently shaken. The ground has cracked and the city has changed beyond recognition." The Grand Elder's voice was extremely heavy. If it were not for the fact that he knew that the messenger would never lie to him, he would have doubted the authenticity of the message. This was because something like this had never happened in Mercenary City since it had been founded. Tianjin's face changed as well when he heard the Grand Elder's words. He could not help but think about how Jianshan had mentioned that a tunnel to the world of Forsaken Saints was sealed deep beneath Mercenary City. Moreover, when he was the Grand Elder of Mercenary City had experienced a tremor as well. However, the tremor had come and gone very quickly, so it did not cause too much of a disturbance. Could it be that the seal beneath Mercenary City has been broken? Tianjin suddenly realized the problem. His heart immediately sank, and he growled, "Grand Elder, let's return to Mercenary City immediately." Before he had even finished speaking, Tianjin immediately created a space gate and pulled the Grand Elder through it in a hurry. "Everyone present, please come to Mercenary City immediately. There are important matters to discuss." Just as the space gate was about to close, Tianjin's voice rang out, allowing all the Holy Emperor experts present to hear him clearly. The Holy Emperor experts from various places looked at each other. They were all stunned by the abnormal actions of the Holy Emperor experts from Mercenary City. Tianjin and the Holy Emperor from Mercenary City have left in such a hurry. Has something happened to Mercenary City? A Holy Emperor from an ancient clan asked in doubt. Mercenary City is protected by a protective barrier that has existed for generations. Even Saint Emperors can't break through it. In terms of defense, it surpasses even the Protector clans. If you say that something has happened to the Protector clans, it would be somewhat believable. As for Mercenary City, that's just ridiculous. A dignified old man in golden dragon robes chuckled aloud. This old man was the ancestral emperor of the Felicity Empire. He was extremely powerful, having reached the peak of the 8th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. He was about to reach the 9th heavenly layer. Hearing the words of the Felicity Empire's founding emperor, quite a few people from the 10 great protector clans became displeased. However, no one dared to say anything because what the founding emperor said was very reasonable. They raised their defenses. This was because the protector clans were nowhere near as powerful as Mercenary City. Back when they were ambushed by the experts of the 100 races, a single protector clan was unable to fend off a small group of them. On the other hand, Mercenary City was able to block all the experts of the 100 races with just a single barrier. Even when multiple forbidden artifacts attacked at the same time, the barrier did not even tremble. This was more than enough to show just how terrifyingly powerful the barrier was. Chapter 1262. It's not like we have anything better to do. So let's go take a look at Mercenary City first. We'll see just what has made the elders leave in such a hurry. Moreover, this is an invitation personally sent by Great Elder Tianjian. Everyone needs to show respect to Great Elder Tianjian. Don't you all agree? A holy emperor from the Patian sect said. He did not forget to glance at the independent holy emperors in the surroundings. Before Mercenary City had a holy emperor, they had already vaguely surpassed the protector clans. Now that they possessed a holy emperor, their strength was incomparable. Even the protector clans would need to treat Mercenary City politely in the future. That's right. Great Elder Tianjian was once a person of great virtue and prestige on our continent, let alone now. I think no one here will turn down an invitation from Great Elder Tianjian. Moreover, the Great Elder Tianjian said that he had something important to discuss with us before he left. It must be something important. After all, I believe that the Great Elder Tianjian is not someone who speaks without thinking. Perhaps the important matter that he wants to discuss with us is about his experience in becoming a martial emperor, said a red-faced old man with a chuckle. He was one of the great elders of the Heaven's Incense School. As he said that, he glanced past all the independent holy emperors present. Clearly, he was talking to the independent holy emperors present on the Tian Yuan continent, whether it was the protector clans, the ancient clans, or the 3 empires. None of them would turn down an invitation from Mercenary City. After all, they were all people with great wealth. None of them wanted to offend one of the rulers of the continent, Mercenary City. However, the independent holy emperors who did not belong to any organization and were not bound by any restrictions were different. They spent most of their time cultivating in the mountains and forests. There was no lack of eccentric and unruly people who did not fear Mercenary City. The 2 holy emperor experts from the Patian sect and the Heaven's Incense School had stepped forward to speak. Many people present understood that they were expressing their attitude towards Mercenary City. Afterward, the holy emperor experts from the protector clans, the ancient clans, the 3 empires, and so on all ripped open space gates and left. All of them hurried to Mercenary City. Before long, only the several dozen independent holy emperors remained. They did not really want to go in the beginning when they received an invitation from the great elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian. This was because they had all become accustomed to Xiaoyao. They had always done as they pleased and did not participate in the conflicts between peak organizations. Even when Tianjian said that he had something important to discuss, many of them still believed that it had nothing to do with them. However, after hearing the conversation between the 2 holy emperor experts from the Patian sect and Heaven's Incense School, many of them immediately changed their minds. They were not afraid of offending Mercenary City if they did not go. After all, Mercenary City was a renowned organization on the Tian Yuan continent. It was impossible for them to hold a grudge against them over such a small matter. What truly moved them was what the Holy Emperor from the Heaven's Incense School had said. Even though many of them knew that Tianjian would not be inviting them to Mercenary City to pass on his experience and knowledge of becoming a Saint Emperor, the temptation of becoming a Holy Emperor was just too great. Even though they knew it was impossible, they still refused to let go of that tiny sliver of hope. As a result, the several dozen independent Holy Emperor experts all ripped open space gates and hurried to Mercenary City after a moment of hesitation. Tianjin and the other Holy Emperor experts of Mercenary City had already returned to Mercenary City. All of them were extremely stern as they stared at the trembling ground below them. Their faces were extremely ugly. The huge barrier around Mercenary City had already vanished, and even the terrifying energy hidden in the ground had vanished. As a result, the ground of Mercenary City that even saint rulers could not leave a mark on had become extremely fragile. Now, the ground had cracked due to the violent tremors. Looking from above, the ground of Mercenary City seemed like a huge spider web. The buildings on it had either been destroyed or collapsed. The beautiful city had been completely destroyed, riddled with holes. At this moment, the Holy Emperor experts of the 10 Protector clans, the 3 empires, and the various ancient clans all arrived at Mercenary City. As soon as they emerged from the space gates, they were stunned by the drastic changes in Mercenary City. Disbelief filled their faces, and they remained in a daze for quite some time. A while later, a Holy Emperor from the Protector clans finally returned to his senses. He secretly gasped inside and arrived beside Tianjin. He clasped his hands and asked, "Great Elder Tianjin WW, what has happened? Why has Mercenary City suddenly become like this?" The Holy Emperor asked the question that everyone was wondering about. Immediately, all the people from the Protector clans, the 3 empires, and the various ancient clans looked at Tianjin. Tianjin said nothing. He stared at the ground below him sternly as the light in his eyes flickered. Boom! At this moment, another heavy sound rang out from the depths of Mercenary City. The ground shook even more violently, and strands of terrifying energy that made all the Holy Emperor experts tremble emerged from the ground. Even though they were just strands of weak energy, they had completely surpassed the level of the Holy Emperor. What a terrifying power! Just what is under the ground? The Saint King from an ancient clan said with a pale face. He felt like he was as insignificant as an ant before the tiny ripple of energy, which made him shiver in fear. At this moment, an extremely powerful pulse of energy appeared from beneath Mercenary City. A 3-meter-wide hole suddenly appeared in the cracked ground of Mercenary City. Afterward, 4 figures quickly rose up as they were enveloped by an extremely powerful energy. In the end, they were sent to Tianjin's side. The terrifying energy around them silently vanished as well. The 4 of them were Ming Dong, Yang Ling, Changyang Zhu Yunkong, and Huang Tianba, who had been cultivating in the depths of Mercenary City. Other than Tianjin, all the Saint Kings in Mercenary City stared at the 4 of them in shock, as if they had seen ghosts. Other than Tianjin, none of them had thought that 3 saint rulers and a heaven saint master would actually be hiding in the depths of Mercenary City. You, who are you? Why are you hiding beneath our Mercenary City? Speak, what exactly are you doing down there? A Holy Emperor from Mercenary City returned to his senses and immediately glared at the 4 of them as he furiously demanded. Tianjin raised his hand to stop the expert who wanted to capture Ming Dong's group. He stared at Ming Dong's group and asked, "Do you know what's going on down there?" Ming Dong, Yang Ling, Changyang Zhu Yunkong, and Huang Tianba all became confused. The 4 of them had been cultivating well down there when they were suddenly woken up by Shaoling. Before they could understand what was going on, they had been suddenly sent outside. They had no idea what had happened. Great Elder, the 4 of them have used some unknown method to enter the depths of Mercenary City, and we don't know what they've done either. I believe that the sudden change of Mercenary City is related to the 4 of them. So please investigate the matter, Great Elder. A Holy Emperor from Mercenary City growled. His gaze toward the 4 of them was filled with hostility. Tianjin shook his head and said, "This matter has nothing to do with them. I might know a thing or two about the reason for the change of Mercenary City today." What? The Great Elder knows the reason? A Holy Emperor stared at Tianjin in shock. At this moment, several dozen more Holy Emperor experts appeared. The independent Holy Emperor had all arrived at Mercenary City as well, but all of them were stunned by the ruined city. All of them stared at the city below them blankly as shock filled their faces. Tianjin looked at the people from the protector clans and said with a deep voice, "Everyone, do you still remember the matter I discussed when I invited you to Mercenary City a few years ago?" "Of course I remember. Supreme Elder Sky Sword, could it be that what you said last time was true? Is there really a tunnel to another world sealed in the depths of Mercenary City? And the people of the other world are extremely powerful. Just the number of people who have surpassed the Holy Emperor's level of cultivation exceeds 10? A Holy Emperor from a Protector clan said with a heavy voice. His face was extremely ugly. The people from the Protector clans all knew about the seal in the depths of Mercenary City. However, the matter was just far too bizarre. None of them chose to believe it before personally witnessing it. They all treated it as a rumor. Yet now, Mercenary City, which was known to have the greatest defenses on the Tian-Yuan continent, had experienced such a drastic change. The people from the Protector clans could not help but believe it slightly. What? There's a tunnel sealed in the depths of Mercenary City. Just the number of people who have surpassed the Holy Emperor's level of cultivation exceeds 10? How is that possible? The expressions of a few Holy Emperor experts who did not know about this immediately changed. All of them had been frightened by the strength of the world of Forsaken Saints. There were only 3 Holy Emperor experts on the Tian-Yuan continent right now. If the world of Forsaken Saints really was so powerful, how were they supposed to stop them? Even if the 4 races worked together, they would still be at the mercy of the world of Forsaken Saints. At this moment, the black tunnel leading to the world of Forsaken Saints churned abnormally, causing the surrounding space to tremble in an extremely unstable manner. In front of the passageway, the ceiling formation that blocked the passageway had already appeared. Every line that formed the formation emitted a dazzling brilliance, emitting a terrifying energy fluctuation that filled the entire underground space. It was like a large net that covered the entrance of the passageway. Xiao Ling hovered in the center of the formation. Her bright eyes flickered as she stared at the formation nervously. Her childish face was filled with fear, making her seem pitiful. "Oh no, oh no. Master Seal is about to break. What do we do? What do we do? Xiao Ling can't last much longer. Big brother, where are you?" Xiao Ling is so scared. Xiao Ling hovered in the empty underground space by herself as she sobbed. "Big brother, you're too weak. Even if you're here, you can't help Xiao Ling, Master. Master, where are you? Master, come out quickly. Xiao Ling can't last much longer. That person is so powerful." Chapter 1263. On the other side of the seal beneath Mercenary City was an extremely vast world. It was so vast that even if the Tian-Yuan continent, the Beast God continent, the Sea Realm, and the Wasteland continent were added together, they would not even be half the size of this world. The energy of the world there was extremely dense, far denser than the energy of the world on the Tian-Yuan continent. Most importantly, the origin energy that had vanished from the Tian-Yuan continent existed in this world. The various resources were extremely plentiful as well, so everything seemed perfect. Perhaps the only flaw was that the sun of this world was red. It was as beautiful as blood, shining with endless red light. It dyed the entire world blood red, adding a sense of evilness to the world. There were not a lot of Holy Emperor experts on the Tian-Yuan continent. Even across the entire continent, including all the independent Holy Emperor experts who remained in seclusion, there would not be more than 1,000 of them. As for Saint Emperors, they were even rarer. Even if the Tian-Yuan continent, the Sea Realm, and the Beast God continent were added together, there would only be 9 of them. However, Holy Emperor experts could be seen everywhere in this blood-red world. Their numbers were enough to stun people. Even the number of Holy Emperor experts was far greater than the total number of Holy Emperor experts on the Tian-Yuan continent. At the very center of the blood-red world, there was a mountain that spanned several million square kilometers. This mountain was called the World Mountain, and it was the largest mountain range in the world. At the same time, it was the most terrifying forbidden zone in the world. Not only were there countless powerful beasts in the World Mountains, but there were also many unknown dangers. Even Holy Emperor experts could only move about in the outskirts of the World Mountains. Once they set foot in the central region, they would most likely die. Without any exaggeration, the central region of the World Mountains was the grave of holy emperor experts. At the same time, the central region was not the most terrifying part of the World Mountains. The most terrifying part was the central region of the World Mountains, the huge mountain that was several tens of thousand meters tall. The mountain was like a heavenly pillar supporting the vast sky of this world. The entire mountain was shrouded in a faint red mist, causing the mountain to be faintly discernible, making it appear even more mysterious. Moreover, the space halfway up the mountain was in an extremely unstable state all year round. The space there was violently twisting, and spatial cracks of various sizes would appear from time to time. These spatial cracks would touch the mountain from time to time, and they would immediately cause the mountain rocks to disappear without a trace. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. It was extremely terrifying. Once one approached the pillar-like mountain range, they would enter the central region of the World Mountains. That was the central region of the World Mountain, which was also known as the depths of the World Mountain. Even those who had surpassed Saint Emperor and reached the Origin Realm needed to carefully advance in the depths of the World Mountains. If they were sucked into a spatial crack due to a moment of carelessness, they would die even if they were at the Origin Realm. In the past, the depths of the World Mountains had devoured the lives of many Origin Realm experts over the countless years of history. As a result, the depths of the World Mountains had become a forbidden zone that even Origin Realm experts were unwilling to set foot in easily. However, at this moment, a large group of people had gathered at the peak of the mountain that was several 100,000 meters tall at the very center of the World Mountains. There were over 500 people, and all of them wore black robes with a strange circular pattern embroidered on them. At the center of the pattern was a huge, majestic divine hall. The pattern was the symbol of the sacred hall that ruled the world, the Sacred Spirit Hall. The Sacred Spirit Hall's status in the blood-red world was equivalent to the imperial palace of an empire. It was the symbol of the highest authority in the world. The group of people in black clothes were extremely powerful as well. They were all experts of the Holy Emperor, and there were quite a few peak Holy Emperor experts among them. Any single one of them would be an expert that the 10 protector clans would fear if they were on the Tian-Yuan continent. However, the 500 Holy Emperor experts did not even dare to breathe too loudly. They all stood there silently, like they were made of wood. They did not move at all. At the very front of the group, over 40 experts of various ages stood in a row. They stood there silently as well. The presences they gave off were actually even more powerful than the Holy Emperor experts. If they were elephants, the Holy Emperor experts would be ants. They were extremely weak. The experts had all surpassed the Holy Emperor and reached the Origin Realm. 8 of them had even reached Returnance. However, without any exception, all of them concealed their presences and stood there like statues. They all held their breaths as they stared at the man before them. Quite a few of their eyes were filled with deep respect and fear. This was a black-robed man with a stalwart figure. He stood there quietly with his back to the crowd, giving off a feeling of indomitable spirit. It was as if he was the sky, the ruler of the world. His figure seemed to have merged with the world, but it also gave off the illusion that the world was beneath his feet. A heavy, dark, metal sword hovered beside him. It flickered with a dark light and gave off a powerful glow. Although the sword remained stationary, the tremendous presence it gave off was enough to make the 8 Returnance experts behind him shiver inside. 1,000 meters in front of the black-clothed man was a pitch-black tunnel. The space around the tunnel violently pulsed and twisted. "Spirit King, may I ask if we can break through the seal this time?" At this moment, a Returnance expert at the back asked. The black-clothed man at the very front was the ruler of the Sacred Spirit Hall, the ruler of the world, the Spirit King. The Spirit King was a legendary figure in the world of Forsaken Saints. He possessed the greatest talent for cultivation and the greatest comprehension ability. He had reached reciprocity in just over 800 years and created many powerful abilities himself. When he had first reached reciprocity, he had challenged the only 3 reciprocity experts of the world of Forsaken Saints. The first reciprocity expert was at mid-reciprocity, but he had been slain in 10 moves by the Spirit King, who had just reached reciprocity. The second and third reciprocity experts were at mid-reciprocity and late reciprocity, respectively. In the end, the two of them fought the early reciprocity Spirit King for 4 hours before dying to his sword as well. The three reciprocity experts were originally the people in charge of the Sacred Hall. They were known as the three Spirit Kings, but the black-clothed man had taken the throne after slaying the three veteran Spirit Kings all by himself. He had become the new Spirit King, the only Spirit King in the world of Forsaken Saints. Although the new Spirit King had only broken through to reciprocity recently and was only at early reciprocity, all the Origin Realm experts of the world of Forsaken Saints did not doubt that the Spirit King could take on the weakest Godhood expert. The difference between reciprocity and Godhood was like a chasm. It was not just a difference of cultivation between the Holy Emperor and the Holy Emperor. Instead, it was the difference between the Origin Realm and Godhood. The Spirit King possessed the battle prowess of Godhood experts at early reciprocity. Even though he was only at the weakest Godhood expert, it was still shocking. The person who cast down this seal in our world of Forsaken Saints really is powerful. No wonder all the Origin Realm experts of our world were not his opponent back then. It's because the seal can only be broken by Godhood experts. The reason why I was able to break through the seal so easily was probably because no one was controlling it. However, there's an Origin Realm expert in the other world maintaining the seal, so it won't be so easy to break through, said the Spirit King. His voice was extremely nonchalant, but possessed a certain charm. Even though he was a man, his voice was extremely pleasant to the ear. Spirit King, can't we succeed this time? A beautiful woman who only seemed to be in her 20s gently asked. Her voice was filled with charm, as if she could steal the souls of people. The woman was one of the 8 returnance experts. Although there's an Origin Realm expert maintaining the seal on the other side, I definitely have the confidence to break through the seal since I've come here this time. However, maintaining the seal requires a tremendous amount of energy. I'll waste away the Origin Realm expert's energy first. Once he's basically exhausted, I'll use the seal-breaking technique and break through the seal on the other side, said the Spirit King indifferently. At this moment, the tunnel leading to the Tian-Yuan continent up ahead had already stabilized. As a result, the tunnel that had become slightly unstable when he used his full strength last time had stabilized once again. A resplendent light immediately flashed through the Spirit King's eyes when he saw this. The dark metal sword beside him immediately erupted with a dazzling silver-white light. An extremely powerful sword intent immediately permeated the surroundings. Under the influence of the sword intent, the wild winds, the air, and even the dense energy of the world seemed to become strands of invisible sword chi. Chapter 1264. A resplendent light immediately flashed through the Spirit King's eyes when he saw that. The dark metal sword beside him immediately erupted with a dazzling silver-white light. An extremely powerful sword intent immediately permeated the surroundings. Under the influence of the powerful sword intent, the wild winds, the air, and even the dense energy of the world seemed to become strands of invisible sword chi. Swish! The dark metal sword was enveloped by a powerful silver-white light. It shot into the tunnel with lightning-like speed as a streak of white light before disappearing. Extremely violent streams of energy filled the tunnel between the world of Forsaken Saints and Mercenary City, causing the tunnel to become extremely unstable. The entire tunnel would distort from time to time. At this moment, a dazzling silver-white light flashed through the tunnel. It flew through the tunnel with extreme speed. It was the Spirit King's dark metal sword. The dark metal sword seemed like nothing special at all, but possessed great power. It was far more powerful than the Emperor armaments of the Tian-Yuan continent. Even the Emperor armaments of the Protector clans could not be compared to it. As the dark metal sword passed by, the tunnel that was already rather unstable immediately began to violently tremble. However, it did not shatter with great tenacity. On the other side of the spatial tunnel, a seal that looked like a spider web covered the exit of the tunnel. The black iron sword was wrapped in a layer of silver-white sword light, and it passed through the spatial tunnel with lightning speed, fiercely colliding with the seal that blocked the exit. Boom! With a deafening boom, the jet-black metal sword struck the center of the seal. The powerful force pushed the seal into the shape of a cone. Immediately after, a powerful sword light erupted from the jet-black metal sword, turning into a dense rain of attacks that bombarded the seal. It began to wildly destroy the seal. The light from the seal immediately began to flicker violently. The energy that maintained the seal was being consumed at an extremely terrifying rate. Xiaoling immediately became extremely nervous. She pressed her hands against the seal as origin energy constantly poured into it. She did her best to maintain the final seal. However, even with Xiaoling maintaining the seal with her own energy, the seal could only barely block the Spirit King's attacks. The seal was powerful, but it could only block the attacks of reciprocity experts. Once it came into contact with the attacks of godhood experts, even the weakest godhood expert would be able to break through it. The Spirit King was still at reciprocity, but he could fight against the weakest godhood expert. The seal could not last at all before the Spirit King with his supreme battle prowess. If it were not for Xiaoling's efforts, the seal probably would have been destroyed long ago. However, even with that being the case, Xiaoling could not last much longer because the energy that had been accumulated in the underground space for countless years had basically been completely depleted. The sword and the seal remained in a stalemate for a few seconds before finally running out of energy and returning to the world of Forsaken Saints. Xiaoling finally let out a sigh of relief, but when she discovered that all the energy in the underground space had been used up, fear immediately filled her face. She sobbed, "Oh no, oh no. All the energy to maintain the seal is gone. What do we do? Master, where are you? Come back quickly. If you don't come back soon, the seal will be destroyed by a bad person. Master, master." The Spirit King stood at the peak of the world mountains in the world of Forsaken Saints without moving at all. It was as if he was the only thing in the world. At this moment, the gloomy sword flew out of the tunnel. It seemed to possess a mind of its own, directly flying into the Spirit King's hand without anyone controlling it. "It's time," the Spirit King said with a deep voice. At this moment, the Spirit King growled. Suddenly, a supreme presence radiated from his body in all directions. He slowly levitated into the air, hovering 10 meters above the ground. He radiated with a terrifying energy that caused the surroundings to tremble. At that moment, the Spirit King seemed to have become a mighty spirit. He stood there with the sword in his hand, causing the sky to tremble. Behind the Spirit King, the several dozen Origin Realm experts all stared at the Spirit King in fear. All of them felt a tremendous and unstoppable pressure from the Spirit King. Even the 8 Returnance experts were no exception. They all felt like they could not defeat the Spirit King. Seal breaking. Suddenly, the Spirit King bellowed out. Pure Origin energy surged from his body into the sword, causing it to erupt with an unprecedentedly bright light. With a clear thrum, the Spirit King stabbed out with lightning-like speed. This sword contained an indescribable profoundness. When this sword was unleashed, the world lost its color and the air stopped flowing. Even time seemed to have come to a standstill as ripples appeared in the surrounding space. The Spirit King stabbed the sword into the tunnel at a speed undetectable to the naked eye, striking the seal on the other side once again. As soon as the iron sword came into contact with the seal, an extremely mysterious power spread out. This power was like a kind of poison. Once it came into contact with the seal, the powerful seal immediately melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. Xiaoling was shocked when she saw this. She tried her best to maintain the seal, but no matter how hard she tried, she was unable to stop the seal from melting away. Boom! After a few breaths, the seal that blocked the exit of the tunnel finally shattered with a loud bang. The entire underground space shook violently. Xiaoling stared at the shattered seal in a daze. Her face had already become extremely pale and filled with fear. Large droplets of tears rolled out of her eyes uncontrollably before she began to sob loudly. She cried out, "It's over, it's over. The seal has been broken. The seal has been broken. Master, where are you? Come back quickly. The seal has been broken. The seal has been broken." What should Xiao Ling do? The moment the seal was broken, Mercenary City on the ground also suffered the most violent impact. Large chunks of the ground caved in, and the crisscrossing cracks on the ground expanded to a width of 1 meter. All the buildings in the city collapsed, and even the statue of Mo Tianyun standing in the center of the city fell down. All the experts of Mercenary City and the various experts watched the tragedy with sunken faces. At that moment, no one felt happy, even the 10 protector clans that envied Mercenary City for having a holy emperor. This was because Tianjin had already told all the Holy Emperor experts present about the world of Forsaken Saints from Jianshan during this time. If it were any other time, they definitely would not have believed such a bizarre matter, but what happened to Mercenary City was the best proof without a doubt. They had no choice but to believe it. If the seal of the world of Forsaken Saints really was broken and they invaded the Tian Yuan continent, how would the Tian Yuan continent fend them off with their measly strength? This would definitely be a great disaster for the Tian Yuan continent. It might even affect the entire world. The Black Sword had already returned to the Spirit King's side in the world of Forsaken Saints. It hovered silently beside him. The Spirit King stared at the tunnel before him and finally smiled in relief. "Spirit King, may I ask if the seal on the other side has been broken?" The enchanting woman nervously asked. The Spirit King slowly turned around. He was a man who seemed to be in his 30s. He was not handsome at all and seemed extremely ordinary. His eyebrows were like swords, giving off a sense of sharpness. His face was resolute, as if he had gone through a lot of hardships. "I've already broken the seal on the other side, but the tunnel has already become extremely unstable after I've forcefully attacked it a few times. It's filled with rampaging streams of space, so we can't pass through. We can only let people pass through once the tunnel stabilizes," said the Spirit King. The Origin Realm experts immediately rejoiced when they heard that. One of the old men excitedly said, "The Spirit King really is the hope of our world of Forsaken Saints. You've actually accomplished what we've failed to accomplish for so many years all by yourself. Over 200,000 years ago, our world of Forsaken Saints gave birth to 5 Reciprocity Spirit Kings, but they were unable to break through the seal even when they worked together. Yet now, the Spirit King has managed to suppress the combined might of the 5 Spirit Kings all by himself. The Spirit King is without a doubt the strongest expert in the history of our world of Forsaken Saints." The Spirit King remained unmoved by the old man's compliment. He remained as indifferent as before and said, "If Origin Realm experts enter the tunnel, they'll place a great deal of pressure on the tunnel. Only when the tunnel has completely stabilized and is reinforced can they pass through. However, there's no such restriction for those below the Origin Realm. They only need to wait for the chaotic streams of space to calm down before they can enter. The weaker they are, the safer they'll be. Leave someone here to guard the tunnel. When the time comes, send a few people over to investigate the situation. Don't forget our objective." "Yes, Spirit King," the Origin Realm experts replied in unison. Chapter 1265. Several hundred Holy Emperor experts hovered in the air above Mercenary City. They all frowned and were extremely stern. After believing that a tunnel to another world really was sealed beneath Mercenary City, they all sent messages to the Holy Emperor experts they knew so that even more Holy Emperor experts would hurry over. In the end, more and more experts gathered in Mercenary City. This was because all of them had realized that this matter was directly related to the safety of the Tian Yuan continent. It was far more serious than the invasion of the Beast God continent in the past. Every single one of them had a responsibility to protect the Tian Yuan continent, even if many of them were independent cultivators who did not belong to any organization. "Great Elder Tian Jian, what should we do now? And can the seal underground stop the attacks from the experts of the world of Forsaken Saints?" A great elder from a protector clan asked anxiously. "Right now, All they could do was gather here. Let alone knowing the situation of a seal, they couldn't even do anything to remedy the situation. They simply didn't have the strength to do so. I don't know about the situation underground either. Even though the ground has lost the protection of the barrier, it's still not a place where we can infiltrate. If we want to know the exact situation, we can only ask the barrier spirit, Tianjin said with a heavy voice. The barrier of Mercenary City has already vanished. Does the barrier spirit still exist? A holy emperor of the 9th heavenly layer asked in surprise. He was also a great elder of a protector clan. Probably no one on the Tianyuan continent knew the true identity of the barrier spirit aside from Jinshin and the heavenly enchantress. Even Tianjin was the same. All of them believed that the barrier spirit of Mercenary City was a soul derived from the protective barrier. It lived and died with the barrier. In all these years, the barrier spirit has always been watching over the seal beneath Mercenary City. Although the barrier has vanished now, I'm certain that the barrier spirit still exists. I just don't know how to contact it, said Tianjin. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the sobs of a girl suddenly rang out. Her sobs were extremely sorrowful, but when the sobs reached the ears of the holy emperor experts present, all of their expressions changed. This was because they could clearly hear the sobs, but they were unable to find the source of the sound. It was as if the sound had come out of nowhere. Have the experts from the world of Forsaken Saints come? The ancestral emperor of the Felicity Empire growled. His face became extremely ugly. Just from the sobs, he could sense how terrifying the other party was. No, it's the voice of the barrier's spirit. Tianjin cried out as he beamed with joy. As expected, a girl who seemed to be 12 or 13 slowly appeared in the air as soon as Tianjin finished speaking. She was only a faint blur in the beginning, but she rapidly solidified at a visible rate. In just a few seconds, her illusionary figure had completely solidified. She seemed to be made of flesh and blood, more real than anything Jinshin had ever seen. This time, Xiaoling did not hide her existence. Her weak figure was completely exposed to the sunlight, allowing everyone to see her clearly. She constantly wiped away her tears with her small hands. Everyone stared at Xiaoling in unison. Their gazes were filled with curiosity and surprise. Including Mercenary City Sky Sword, this was the first time all of them had seen Xiaoling. However, many people were taken aback by the fact that Mercenary City's barrier spirit was actually such a well-behaved little girl. Barrier spirit, what's the situation down there? Is the seal still intact? Sky Sword asked nervously. It's broken. It's broken. The seal has been broken by the bad guy on the other side. Woo-woo. Master's seal has been broken. It's over. It's over. What should we do? Xiaoling said as she cried. Her face was full of helplessness. Hearing this, everyone's complexion became extremely ugly. Some of them even turned pale. Spirit of the barrier. What's the strength of the world of Forsaken Saints like? A great elder asked with a heavy voice. I don't know, but the person who broke the seal is so powerful. He possesses the strength of reciprocity at the very least. Xiaoling can't beat him. Xiaoling became afraid as soon as the Spirit King was mentioned. Origin? Is this the realm beyond the Holy Emperor? A Holy Emperor independent cultivator murmured. On the Tianyuan continent, even the 10 protector clans with a long history did not understand the realm beyond the Holy Emperor. Master said that above sainthood is the Origin realm. The Origin realm is divided into 3 smaller realms, which are Receival, Returnance, and Reciprocity. The person who broke the seal possesses the strength of Reciprocity at the very least, while Xiaoling is only a Returnance. How can she defeat him? Don't underestimate the strength of Returnance and Reciprocity. My master said that the difference between Returnance and Reciprocity is equivalent to the difference between the Holy Emperor and the Holy Emperor on the Tianyuan continent, Xiaoling explained. Everyone present immediately gasped. Just how great was the difference between the Holy Emperor and the Holy Emperor? They all knew that the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. They cannot be compared at all. How is this possible? How can a world of forsaken saints be so powerful? If we compare the people who have just surpassed the Holy Emperor to saint rulers, then wouldn't the Holy Emperor be like a heaven saint master? As for us holy emperors, we're only equivalent to an earth saint master. What kind of joke is this to use several hundred earth saint masters to deal with a holy emperor? A holy emperor independent cultivator said in disbelief. The difference was just too great, so great that no one could imagine it. Xiao Ling said anxiously, "The spatial passage has already been opened. It won't be long before they send people over." Master once said that he entered that world alone and killed many experts. I don't know if those people will hate Master. If they hate Master, then they will definitely kill you when they come over. You have to quickly think of a way. No one said anything. They all grumbled inside. The world of forsaken saints even had experts at the peak of the origin realm. No one could say for sure whether they had receival and returnance experts as well. Even in ancient times, when the Tian Yuan continent was at its peak, they would not be their opponents, let alone now. The city lord left behind an extremely tough divine hall in our mercenary city. I wonder if it's still useful, Tian Jian said in a deep voice. The strength of the divine hall was unquestionable. It could even kill experts like the Holy Emperor in the past. But Tianjin was not particularly confident against Origin Realm experts who had surpassed the Holy Emperor. This was because the Divine Hall had never been used to deal with Origin Realm experts, so it was obviously impossible to know if it could block their attacks. Xiaoling's eyes immediately lit up. She said excitedly, "Yeah, we still have the Divine Hall that Master left behind. That Divine Hall is very tough, so I probably won't be able to destroy it. I just don't know if it can block the attacks of reciprocity experts or not. However, there's nothing else we can do right now. Hurry up and move Master's Divine Hall over to guard the entrance." "All right, I'll go refine the Divine Hall immediately." After saying that, Sky's sword left. He also knew that time was of the essence. He had to refine the Shrine of Supremacy as soon as possible. Chapter 1266. Chanyang Zhu Yunxiao's face immediately changed slightly when he heard that someone wanted to use the Bright Moon Divine Hall to suppress the seal. The Bright Moon Divine Hall was basically Yu Yu's personal property now, and Yu Yu was Jinshin's fiancée. If they really did use the Bright Moon Divine Hall to block the seal, it would not be so easy to take it back. This was because the Bright Moon Divine Hall was also a powerful divine hall that even holy emperors struggled to destroy. Some of the protector clans would never allow such a powerful divine hall to exist in order to maintain their deterrence on the Tian Yuan continent. In the past, the protector clans did not dare to touch Yu Yu, who possessed the Bright Moon Divine Hall. The first reason was that if Yu Yu hid in the Divine Hall, they would not be able to do anything to her. The second reason was that Yu Yu had Jinshin, who could not be underestimated. She also had 3 magical beasts that could fight against holy emperors. As a result, the protector clans could only watch as the Bright Moon Divine Hall ended up in Yu Yu's hands without doing anything. However, the situation was completely different now. The existence of the world of Forsaken Saints was an extremely great threat to the Tian Yuan continent. It was even a calamity that would affect the entire world. It was perfectly justifiable for them to use the Bright Moon Divine Hall to suppress the seal, so no one could say anything about it. If the Bright Moon Divine Hall was destroyed, the Protector clans would obviously be delighted to see it happen, but they would be the ones to suffer in the end. Chanyang Zhu Yunxiao had already made up his mind to stop this from happening no matter what when he thought up to there. He said, "The Bright Moon Divine Hall is indeed extremely tough, and the materials used to forge it are extremely rare as well. They're all from Moon, but Fairy Hao Yue was only a peak holy emperor after all. She had not reached the origin realm, so the divine hall she created can probably only block attacks from holy emperors. It's probably useless before reciprocity experts." The great elder of Yangji Zone, Ji Qian, sneered when he heard that. He said, "Right now, our Tian Yuan continent is facing a crisis of life and death. At a time like this, we have to try anything as long as there's a chance of stopping the experts from the world of Forsaken Saints. We have quite a few divine halls, but they can only block attacks from Holy Emperors. They're completely useless before Holy Emperors. Only the Supreme Divine Hall of Mercenary City and the Bright Moon Divine Hall can block attacks from Origin Realm experts on the entire Tian Yuan continent. That's right. What kind of situation are we in right now? Who cares about personal benefits? Now that the Tian Yuan continent is in danger, everyone has a responsibility to protect the continent. Brother Jitian, I'll go to Flame City with you and borrow the Bright Moon Divine Hall. If they don't agree, we'll have to resort to extreme measures, said a Grand Elder righteously. He seemed like a righteous person on the surface, but he sneered inside. He thought, Jianshun, you killed a great elder of my Yuan sect in the past, disgracing us. Although we can't directly seek revenge, you can't stop us from taking away your wife's Bright Moon Divine Hall, no matter what. Great Elder Jiqian of Yangji Zone immediately rejoiced inside after receiving the support of the Great Elder of the Yuan sect. He looked around and said, Everyone, may I ask who else is willing to go to Flame City with us and borrow the Bright Moon Divine Hall to protect the Tian Yuan continent? An independent Holy Emperor stepped forward and sternly said, Although the old man has secluded himself in the mountains and doesn't care about the matters of the world, nor does he take part in any of the conflicts on the Tian Yuan continent, this matter is directly related to the survival of the Tian Yuan continent. He obviously can't remain uninvolved. Let the old man accompany you to borrow the Bright Moon Divine Hall. If the Bright Moon Divine Hall can stop the invasion of the world of Forsaken Saints, the master of the Bright Moon Divine Hall will have made a great contribution. After the independent Holy Emperor, a few other experts from the Holy Emperor stepped forward. Basically, all of them were independent cultivators who had spent most of their time in seclusion and did not care about the matters of the world. In the end, the Yangji Zone and the Yuan sect each sent 2 Holy Emperor experts, as well as 5 independent Holy Emperors. A total of 9 experts from the Holy Emperor's side hurried to Flame City at the same time. Chanyang Zhu Yinshao secretly panicked when he saw this. Just when he wanted to say something, he was stopped by Chanyang Zhu Shao beside him. He said to him through a communication technique, Yinshao, you can't stop them now. The Yangji Zone and the people of the Yuan sect are very prejudiced against Jianshan. If you insist on stopping them, they might add fuel to the fire and make you a target for everyone. Chanyang Zhu Yinshao remained silent for a while before sighing inside. He really wanted to help you protect the Bright Moon Divine Hall, but he was powerless. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City continued, Everyone, the existence of the world of Forsaken Saints is no longer just a threat to our Tian Yuan continent. Even the sea race, magical beasts, and 100 races face a great threat. I believe we should send envoys to the 3 races and get them to send experts to protect us. Even if our strength is extremely insignificant compared to the world of Forsaken Saints, we should do our best to stop them from coming. You're right, Grand Elder. However, our Tian Yuan continent's relationship with the other 3 races is not very friendly. We've even gotten into some disagreements with the magical beasts and the 100 races. I believe we need to reconsider this matter, said a great elder of a protector clan. Then please come to the miniature world of our mercenary city for a chat. We can discuss how to deal with this. In a Xianhuang microcosm, Jianshun had no idea that the seal beneath mercenary city had already been broken. At this moment, he and Tai Ta were making their way toward the center of the Xianhuang microcosm. They would come across a few regions of life with plants along the way. Every single region of life would have a spring of life and Xianhuang beasts living there. Jianshan would take away half of the spring of life whenever he arrived at a region of life. He would also take away the essence of the spring of life. The essence was truly valuable, benefiting the soul greatly. At the same time, Poseidon needed the essence to reconstruct his body. Along the way, Jianshan placed more and more spring water in the artifact space. There were now over 80,000 kilograms. Half of it was at the first grade of the immortal tier, over 20,000 kilograms were at the second grade, and the remaining 10,000 were at the third grade. The third grade of the immortal tier was the highest quality spring water that Jianshan had come across so far. Other than the spring water, Jianshan found quite a few heavenly resources as well. There were the ginseng, lingji, knotweed, and other heavenly resources that he was most familiar with. Every single one of them was over 100,000 years old, and since they grew in the Xianhuang microcosm, they had been tainted with some faint Xianhuang qi, which greatly increased their value. Jianshan even found over a dozen immortal tier heavenly resources that he had never seen or heard of before. However, the highest grade was only at the second grade. Jianshan also knew that the sword spirits did not care about these heavenly resources at all. They only allowed him to collect them because they were useful to him. Jianshan also came across 3 comprehension tea trees. He took away all the leaves, but the only pity was that they were only at the first grade of the immortal tier. Other than that, Jianshan killed several dozen class 7 and 8 Xianhuang beasts as well, collecting several dozen energy crystals equivalent to class 7 and 8 monster cores. Although Jianshan had only been in the Xianhuang microcosm for 7 days, Jianshan was extremely satisfied with his harvest. Kaidao was the same. He had been grinning from ear to ear for the past few days because he had also collected several dozen energy crystals from Xianhuang beasts. They were all class 7 and 8 monster cores. After crossing several dozen kilometers of desolate land, Jianshan arrived in a region of life once again. He discovered a 3-meter-tall peach tree growing there. It was covered in fist-sized violet peaches, and every single one of them was the same size. Chapter 1267. Just a single peach can increase my cultivation by 500 years. Ziying, just how much is 500 years worth of cultivation? And how is it calculated? Jianshan asked in doubt. Some saint rulers were unable to reach the level of a holy emperor in their entire lives. Yet he had reached the level of a holy emperor in just a few decades. Jianshan was extremely curious as to just how much the peach could increase his strength. After a moment of thought, Ziying said, Master, there are many heavenly resources in our world that can directly increase cultivation like the violet cloud peach. All heavenly resources like that are measured by the years of cultivation, they can increase. The years of cultivation are calculated by how much a person with ordinary talent can absorb immortal qi to cultivate. The amount of energy within the peach is equivalent to 500 years of cultivation for a person with ordinary talent in our world. However, the cultivation speed of those with high aptitudes, or some of the rare geniuses of the ages, is extremely fast. They only need to cultivate for 100 years, or even a few decades, and they will be able to match the cultivation of those with ordinary aptitudes in 500 years. With Ziying's explanation, Jianshan finally gained some understanding of the 500 years of cultivation that the violet cloud peach could provide. He thought to himself, a single peach can provide 500 years of cultivation. It sounds rather terrifying, but that's only the result of 500 years of cultivation for people with ordinary talent. On the other hand, I've only cultivated for less than 50 years, yet what I've achieved is something that even people with ordinary talent might not be able to achieve after cultivating for 3,000 years. And the amount of energy required to increase my chaotic body is unimaginable. Looks like the effects of the peach aren't as great to me as I imagined. Ziying, roughly how many peaches do I need to go from the 3rd layer to the 4th layer of the chaotic body? And how many peaches do I need to go from the 4th layer to the 5th? Jianshan asked. After learning about the effects of the violet cloud peach, he was tempted to consume it immediately to increase his chaotic body. Master, a single 1st grade violet cloud peach is roughly equivalent to 2 class 9 monster cores. Although Master's chaotic body has reached the peak of the 3rd layer, a single 1st grade violet cloud peach is still not enough to bring Master's chaotic body to the 4th layer immediately. You'll need at least 3 1st grade violet cloud peaches. However, the violet cloud peach isn't something that you can eat whenever you want. After consuming the 1st peach, you'll need to wait 100 years before you can consume the 2nd one, or it won't have any effects at all, Ziying said bitterly. Ziying said with some bitterness. What he said directly destroyed Jianshan's thoughts of eating 8 or 10 of them in a row. Jianshan became disappointed when he heard that. However, Jinshin also knew from Xing that he needed a violet cloud peach that could increase his cultivation by 1,500 years or 6 Class 9 monster cores to reach the 4th layer. Although he still had a few Class 8 and 9 monster cores from the Heaven's Incense School in his space ring, Jinshin did not plan on using them right now. Even if he absorbed all of them, he might not be able to reach the 4th layer, and it would waste quite a lot of time. He did not have a lot of time left in the Xianhuang microcosm. He wanted to use the remaining 2 months to find as many heavenly resources as possible to bring out. However, to Jinshin's surprise, a single 500-year-old violet cloud peach was equivalent to 2 Class 9 monster cores. Ziying seemed to know what Jinshin was thinking, so he explained, "Master, the more powerful a person is, the faster they can absorb the energy of the world. The people of our world can't be compared to the people of the Tianyuan continent at all. The energy that an ordinary person can accumulate after cultivating for 500 years would take the people with great talent on the Tianyuan continent to make up for in thousands or even tens of thousands of years. As a result, a single violet cloud peach that can only increase cultivation by 500 years is equivalent to 2 Class 9 monster cores. At the same time, the energy of our world is a level higher than the energy of the Tianyuan continent. If a holy emperor from the Tianyuan continent came to our world to cultivate, his cultivation speed would increase by several times. This is because not only is the energy of the world several times denser than on the Tianyuan continent, it's also immortal energy that's of an even higher grade. This immortal energy is on the same level as the origin energy Master knows about." "I see." Jinshin came to a realization. He could not help but ask, "Xing, Qing saw, what kind of world did you come from?" This question had been in Jinshin's mind for many years. He had asked the sword spirits the same question in the past, but the sword spirits had refused to answer because Jinshin's strength had not reached that level yet. Jinshin finally could not help but ask again. Xing and Qing Suo fell silent. A while later, Qing Suo said, "Master, we originally planned on telling you this question after you reach the level of a holy emperor, but you're not far away now. Since you want to know so much, we'll tell you." Qing Suo paused as reminiscence filled his eyes. He said, "Master, the world we came from was called the Immortals world. It was an even higher level world than the Tianyuan continent. If a holy emperor was placed in our world, he would be an insignificant figure at the very bottom. A holy emperor would be like a newborn in our world. He would only have just begun cultivating." Even though Jinshin had been mentally prepared for this, he was still greatly shocked. Jinshin could not even compare to a holy emperor in this world. The holy emperor was an undefeatable existence in his eyes, yet such a powerful figure was actually so insignificant in the world of the sword spirits. This was indeed a great shock to Jinshin. Qing Suo continued, "Back in Master's original world, Qing Suo and I were heavily injured from the destruction of our swords. We fell into a deep slumber and recovered at an extremely slow rate. Afterwards, we were awakened by the familiar presence from Master's cultivation of the Azulite Sword Law. At that time, we discovered that Master was in a place where the energy of the world was extremely thin, but with the incomplete Azulite Sword Law and the incomplete Azulite Sword Law, you were able to reach such a level at such a young age without anyone teaching you. As a result, we developed a fondness for talent. We just happened to arrive at the moment of Master's death, so Ziying and I decided to protect Master's soul. We wanted to take Master to the Immortals world because we believed that with Master's talent in the way of the sword, you would definitely achieve great things if you cultivated in the Immortals world. However, we never thought that Ziying and I would not recover enough strength, so we were unable to break through the barrier between the two worlds. Coupled with the fact that moving through space consumed our strength extremely quickly, we could not last much longer. In the end, we ended up on the Tianyuan continent by accident. Jinshin could not help but think about the battle between him and Dugu Xiaobai. Back then, he had ended up on the Tianyuan continent with the help of the sword spirits. He wondered how Dugu Xiaobai was doing. Had he died back then? Jinshin gently sighed inside. A sliver of melancholy appeared in his eyes as he said, Zing, Qingse, I will go to the immortals' world sooner or later. Jianshan also understood that the chaotic body would become more and more difficult the further he progressed. There were not enough resources on the Tianyuan continent for his chaotic body to grow. If he wanted his chaotic body to reach a higher level, he needed to go to the immortals' world. That was because he needed to find even more cultivation resources. Zing opened his mouth. He wanted to say something, but he said nothing in the end. Only he and Qing Suo understood that returning to the immortals' world would be extremely difficult since they had come here. It would definitely not be easy. The two Class 8 Xianhuang beasts that had reached the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor guarded the immortal peaches. They had been slain by Jianshan and Tai Ta effortlessly. Even though the two Xianhuang beasts were very tough, they were not enough to stop Jianshan and Tai Ta, who possessed extraordinary battle prowess. In the end, the two Class 8 monster cores were split between the two of them. They did not miss out on the corpses of the Xianhuang beasts either. Afterward, Jianshan began to collect the violet cloud peaches in jade boxes. There were a total of 108 violet cloud peaches on the tree, and he had collected all of them. Depending on the size of the box, each box contained 1 or over a dozen peaches. After taking away the violet cloud peaches, Jianshan did not have many jade boxes left to store heavenly resources. In reality, he had already used up all the jade boxes he had prepared. All the jade boxes he was using right now came from rummaging through the space rings of other people. Chapter 1268. With a large group of people in Class 7 magical beasts creating wooden boxes for Jianshan to store various heavenly resources in the artifact space, Jianshan no longer had to worry about not having enough jade boxes. 2 days later, Jianshan arrived at an even larger region of life. From afar, it seemed more like a huge oasis of life. It spanned over 10,000 square kilometers and was covered in lush vegetation. The thick trees were several hundred meters tall. At the center of this land of life was a mountain peak that was 1,000 meters tall. The mountain peak was abnormally steep and as smooth as a wall, making it extremely difficult to climb. However, at the highest point of the mountain peak, there was an ancient pine tree that was as tall as a person, growing there like an old man. The small ancient tree was not tall, but it was healthy and strong, giving people the feeling that it had lived for a long time and would not die. That's a comprehension tea tree. Jianshan stared at the small tree at the very top of the mountain and immediately cried out in surprise. Although he was very far away, he could still recognize the comprehension tea tree with his eyesight. At the same time, the feeling that the comprehension tea tree gave him was completely different from the first-grade comprehension tea tree he had encountered before. It was clearly of a higher grade. That's a 5th-grade comprehension tea tree, Zing said. She recognized the grade of the comprehension tea tree with a single glance. There's also the flame cloud fruit there. The effect of the flame cloud fruit is the same as the violet cloud stall. It can directly increase a person's cultivation base. Moreover, it has the effect of condensing immortal elemental energy. The only flaw is that the flame cloud fruit is only useful for those who cultivate fire tribute cultivation methods. Although Master cultivates the primal chaos force and does not have to restrict the energy attribute, the effect of the flame cloud fruit on Master is far inferior to those who cultivate fire tribute cultivation methods, Qing Suo said regretfully. Jianshan glanced around. As expected, he discovered a small, red tree halfway up the mountain. The tree was only 10 meters tall, and it was covered in thumb-sized red fruits. Is this the flame cloud fruit? Jianshan murmured. He discovered that there was a layer of red light on the surface of the red fruits, as if there was a flame leaping about within each fruit. The flame cloud fruit is even more beneficial to fire-attributed cultivation methods. Senior Honglian just happens to be fire-attributed, so these flame cloud fruits will be very useful to her. Just a single flame cloud fruit will be enough for Senior Honglian to become a holy emperor, Jianshan thought. He immediately thought of Honglian after learning about the effects of the flame cloud fruit, Jianshan. Jianshan patted Tai Ta's shoulder before moving. He used the illusory flash to quickly charge toward the mountain. Taita followed closely behind Jianshan. He was no slower than Jianshan. Jianshan was extremely careful as he advanced. Every region of life had Xianhuang beasts, and the more valuable something was, the more powerful the Xianhuang beast would be. Since a 5th grade comprehension tea tree had appeared here, the Xianhuang beast guarding it would definitely be extremely powerful. It was extremely likely that it would be the most powerful Xianhuang beast he had encountered since entering the Xianhuang microcosm. However, to Jinshan's surprise, he did not discover a single Xianhuang beast when he arrived at the foot of the mountain. He did not even sense the presence of a Xianhuang beast. Jinshan and Taita looked at each other. They were both rather stern. This could only mean that the Xianhuang beast was far stronger than them. Once it hid itself, it would be extremely difficult to discover. Jianshan, it might be a Holy Emperor-level Xianhuang beast, Taita said with a deep voice. Taita said in a low and muffled voice. His expression was extremely solemn, but there was no trace of fear on his face. Jianshan nodded in agreement. Xianhuang beasts do not possess any intelligence. They fight based on instinct. Even if it's a Holy Emperor-level Xianhuang beast, it's nowhere near as strong as Holy Emperor-level Holy Emperor aside from its tough skin and flesh. It's impossible for it to use the Holy Emperor's abilities, so we can still kill it. With that, Jianshan began to climb the mountain. The steep mountain posed no difficulty to Jianshan at all. Jianshan climbed up like it was flat ground. Taita followed closely beside him. If it were not for the fact that they could not fly in the Xianhuang microcosm, reaching the top would have been even easier. Chapter 1269. The two of them were unable to see the top of the mountain due to their vision being obstructed. Now that they had made it to the top, they could obviously see everything with a single glance. The top of the mountain was very vast. The ground was uneven and filled with potholes. In particular, there was a 20-meter deep, 1,000-meter wide hole at the very center. Two extremely large Xianhuang beasts lay in the hole at this moment. The two Xianhuang beasts were much larger than any of the Xianhuang beasts Jianshan had seen before. He had come across quite a few Class 7 and 8 Xianhuang beasts in the past, but they were only several dozen meters long at most. However, the two Xianhuang beasts before him were crocodile-like and 1,000 meters long. Even when they lay there, they were still close to 30 meters tall and wide. From afar, they seemed like a huge bridge. Jianshan was unable to sense the presences of the two Xianhuang beasts at all. This was not because the Xianhuang beasts knew how to conceal their presences, but because their strength had reached a certain level. However, the two Xianhuang beasts were able to do this before Jianshan, so they were clearly much stronger than Jianshan and Taita. Two Class 9 Xianhuang beasts. Jianshan's heart sank slightly. Even though he had expected the Xianhuang beast guarding the tea tree to be at the level of the Holy Emperor, he had never thought that two would appear all of a sudden. If there was only one Class 9 Xianhuang beast, he and Taita would be able to deal with it if they worked together, but it would be very difficult to say if there were two of them. The moment Jianshan and Taita made it to the top, the two crocodile-like Xianhuang beasts opened their eyes at the same time. Their gazes landed on Jianshan and Taita. Their orange-yellow eyes were large and bright, filled with violence and bloodlust. Jianshan and Taita immediately felt a tremendous presence lock onto them. It was as if a huge mountain had fallen on them, making them feel heavy and their movements become rather sluggish. Go! Jianshan did not hesitate at all. He immediately called out and leapt off the mountain with Taita, quickly descending into the distance. Although the mountain top was spacious, it was not suitable for battle. In order to avoid the shockwaves from the battle, Jianshan and Taita could only draw the two powerful Class 9 Xianhuang beasts down. Almost at the same time that Jianshan and Han Sun jumped off the mountain, the two crocodiles, each 1,000 meters long, let out a strange, ear-piercing cry. Their crouching bodies suddenly stood up, and their originally 30-meter-tall bodies suddenly grew to 50 meters. They looked like mountains. The entire mountain suddenly shook violently. The two huge crocodiles at the top of the mountain followed closely behind Jianshan and Taita, chasing after them. This land of life was their territory. They obviously would not let go of these two weak, ant-like people who had trespassed into their territory. Although the two crocodiles were huge, they were extremely agile and moved extremely quickly as well. They were actually slightly faster than Jianshun and Tai Ta. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the two sides had been reduced by quite a bit. Sensing the crocodiles getting closer and closer, Jianshun immediately used the illusory flash as hard as he could. His speed suddenly skyrocketed, leaving behind a long blur as he pulled away from the crocodiles once again. Mysteries of War, Celestial Chase. At the same time, Tai Tai used his Mysteries of War as well. He suddenly vanished and reappeared several kilometers away in the next moment, as if he had teleported. He flickered several times and pulled away from the crocodiles by over 20 kilometers. He was much faster than Jianshun. At this moment, Jianshun and Tai Ta had already lured the two crocodiles several dozen kilometers away. They then stopped as if they knew each other, quietly waiting for the two Class 9 Xianhuang beasts to catch up. Jianshun and Tai Ta did not stand together. Instead, they stood several kilometers apart while the two Xianhuang beasts charged at Jianshun and Tai Ta separately. The two crocodile-shaped Xianhuang beasts were clearly one male and one female, but their strength was on par with each other. Suddenly, a bright, golden light flickered. Tai Ta stood there in a majestic manner with his huge, golden axe in hand. He bathed in golden light as he seemed like a war god. Powerful battle intent coiled around him, making him seem undefeatable. Jianshun also stood with his emperor armament. He stood straight as a powerful sword intent radiated from him, soaring into the sky. It was as if he had become a sword that hovered in the sky. Jianshun dared not to be careless against the Class 9 Xianhuang beasts. He used his full strength. At that moment, his mind had completely fused with his sword intent, as if he had fused with the emperor armament. Suddenly, Jianshun felt like he had touched something, but he was unable to grasp it no matter what. It felt like he was shrouded in mist, hazy and extremely blurry. This is the way of the sword. Jianshun's heart skipped a beat. He had already realized that he had touched upon the first of the 5 major realms of the way of the sword again, but to his regret, he was unable to grasp it, perhaps because he did not have a sword that was bound to his life. He always felt like he was missing something. Jianshun did not have the time to carefully comprehend the mysteries of the 5 major realms of the way of the sword. The Class 9 Xianhuang beast had already arrived before him. It opened its huge mouth and bit at Jianshun. At the same time, a powerful suction emerged from the beast's mouth, trying to suck Jianshun into its mouth. Jianshun immediately felt his movements become abnormally sluggish as the powerful suction wrapped around him. However, he did not panic at all. Chaotic force erupted from his body and enveloped him, resisting the suction from the crocodile's mouth. He used the illusory flash and dodged the crocodile's mouth by a hair's breadth before stabbing the crocodile's head with his sword as hard as he could. Ding! With the crisp sound of metal clashing, Jianshun's full-powered attack failed to harm the crocodile at all. It did not even leave behind a layer of skin on its head, only leaving behind a faint, white mark. Chapter 1271. At the same time, Tai Ta's axe landed on the head of the other Class 9 Xianhuang beast, but the result was the same as Jianshun's. His powerful attack failed to injure the Xianhuang beast at all. It did not even break through its skin, only leaving behind a shallow mark. Tai Ta frowned slightly at this sight. The Xianhuang beast's defense had also exceeded his expectations, but he did not become dejected at all. He gripped his axe with both hands and raised it high above his head. It shone with a bright golden light as powerful battle intent revolved around him, fusing with the axe in his hand. Mysteries of War, Mortal Breaker. Tai Ta let out a loud cry. His golden axe turned into a beam of golden light as he swung it down with all his might. This time, Tai Ta had used his Mysteries of War. The attack was far more powerful than the attack from before. Boom! The golden axe landed on the Xianhuang beast and produced a heavy boom. Violent streams of energy swept out in all directions as storms of energy, kicking up dust from the ground. Sand and rocks were blown into the air as dust filled the air. Tai Ta, and most of the Xianhuang beasts were covered by the yellow dust. Tai Ta's strength had increased by quite a lot after cultivating in the vortex of energy for 3 months. He was far more powerful than when he fought against the experts of the Tao family. The mysteries of war he used this time had even reached the level of the Holy Emperor's 8th heavenly layer. It was even more powerful than Jinshin's. However, his powerful mysteries of war failed to break through the Xianhuang beast skin. It only left behind a white mark that was slightly larger than before. Roar! The Class 9 Xianhuang beast was enraged. It produced a deafening roar as it raised a huge hand and swung it at Tai Ta. The Xianhuang beast clearly could not accept the fact that an ant-like person was attacking it time and time again. Although it did not possess intelligence, it possessed a sense of superiority due to its great strength. It could not allow any creature weaker than it to touch it. Because the Xianhuang beast was just too large, one of its feet was extremely large as well. It was 20 to 30 meters wide, much larger than a regular house. The Xianhuang beast's foot moved extremely quickly. Like a huge stamp, it descended from the sky and enveloped the entire region. Tai Ta immediately felt a tremendous pressure from above as he stood beneath the Xianhuang beast's foot. Although the Class 9 Xianhuang beast before him did not know any secret techniques, it was still in existence that possessed the power of the Holy Emperor. A casual strike from it possessed extremely great power, and the pressure it created was enough to restrain prey that were far weaker than it. Tai Ta felt his body become heavier and heavier. His feet had already sunk into the ground, and they continued to sink. Above him, the Xianhuang beast's huge foot rapidly descended. With every inch the foot descended, the pressure on Tai Ta increased. It was tremendous. Mysteries of war, celestial chase. Tai Ta called out and used the mysteries of war once again. With a flash of golden light, he suddenly vanished from where he was, appearing on the Xianhuang beast's back as if he had teleported. Mysteries of war, destruction. Tai Ta roared at the sky as he bathed in the golden light. His powerful battle intent permeated his surroundings once again, fusing with the axe as an invisible energy. The axe's power greatly increased, and a destructive energy erupted from it, as if it could destroy everything in the world. Just from the aura, it could be seen that the art of annihilation was much more powerful than the art of mortal breaker. One was a pure and powerful attack, while the other had a trace of destructive aura. It was indestructible, and there was nothing it could not destroy. The golden axe struck the Xianhuang beast's back, creating a 2-meter-long crack. Tai Ta's destruction arts had actually cut through the Xianhuang beast's hide. Even though it was only an inch deep, not even a tenth of the Xianhuang beast's hide, it was still quite shocking. The Xianhuang beast began to violently sway in an attempt to throw Tai Ta off its back. Tai Ta grabbed a protruding part of the Xianhuang beast's back with one hand, keeping himself firmly on the beast's back. He continued to use the destruction arts with one hand to cut at the 2-meter-long wound, causing it to rapidly deepen. Once he had completely cut through the thick hide, he would be able to harm the Xianhuang beast. The Xianhuang beast immediately roared out in anger when it saw how it could not shake off the ant-like creature on its back no matter what. It constantly slammed its limbs against the ground, creating large holes in the tough earth. Its thick and powerful tail constantly swung at Tai Ta, but Tai Ta would be able to dodge it in time with the celestial chase before returning to his original position. He raised his axe and swung it at the rapidly deepening wound on the Xianhuang beast's back. 1 swing, 2 swings, 3 swings. Tai Ta used the destruction technique with a single hand, so its power was drastically reduced. However, even with that being the case, the Class 9 Xianhuang beast was unable to endure Tai Ta's constant attacks. The wound on its back grew deeper and deeper, but there was still no blood. The Xianhuang beast's skin was extremely thick. Tai Ta had not even cut through half of it. Right now, Tai Ta was stuck to the Xianhuang beast's back like a piece of sticky candy. It could not chase him away no matter what. Although the Xianhuang beast posed no threat to Tai Ta for now, killing it would not be easy because he had not even managed to pierce through its hide. On the other side, Jianshin used the illusory flash to dodge the Xianhuang beast attacks. After trembling for a while, Jianshin had already gained a complete understanding of the Xianhuang beast attacks. It did not use any tricks, completely relying on the most primitive methods of a wild beast. Although it possessed the strength of a holy emperor, it was not even as threatening as a ninth heavenly layer, holy emperor aside from its thick hide. Jianshin avoided the Xianhuang beast's line of sight. He concealed his presence and silently arrived at the Xianhuang beast's abdomen. He stabbed at the snow-white abdomen as hard as he could. However, the attack failed to harm the Xianhuang beast at all. Jianshin felt like he had stabbed into a ball of soft cotton, making him feel like he was unable to use his strength. The abdomen was the weakest part of many magical beasts. It was a crucial point that connected to the internal organs of the body. Unfortunately, the weakest part of many magical beasts was strengthened the most in the Xianhuang beasts. Looks like I can only attack the eyes, mouth, ears, and nostrils. Jianshin sighed inside. Out of all the battles he had fought in the past few years, this was the first time he felt the most helpless. It was not because his opponent was too powerful. It was because his opponent's skin was just too thick. Jianshin emerged from the Xianhuang beast's abdomen in a flash and stood in front of its head without any disguise. He swung the Emperor armament in his hand to the ground, and immediately a curved, black sword chi cut through the soil. It moved through the soil and quickly shot toward the Xianhuang beast. Wherever the sword chi passed, the soil was kicked into the air. Large amounts of sand and dust were kicked into the air, causing the sky to become hazy. Both Jianshin and the Xianhuang beast's vision was affected in such an environment. They were unable to see ahead at all. Jianshin closed his eyes and charged into the sand. At a time like this, he could no longer worry about the consumption of the senses of his soul. He enveloped a radius of 1,000 meters with his soul as he observed his surroundings. He quickly approached the Xianhuang beast and carefully concealed his presence, preventing it from sensing his location. Jianshin arrived 20 meters away from the Xianhuang beast's head very soon. Suddenly, his speed exploded as he used the illusory flash to cross that distance and arrive before the Xianhuang beast's eyes. Powerful sword intent radiated from his body as the Emperor armament in his hand shot out a 3-meter-long black streak of light. The violent and destructive presence filled the Xianhuang beast's eyes, causing it to feel a piercing pain. Jianshin did not give the Xianhuang beast any time to close its eyes. The Emperor armament turned into a black streak of light, stabbing into the Xianhuang beast's eyeball with lightning-like speed. The chaotic force within the Emperor armament immediately erupted, destroying one of the Xianhuang beast's eyes in a single instance. At the same time, the remaining energy used the eye as an opening to spread toward the Xianhuang beast's brain in an attempt to destroy its central nervous system. The Xianhuang beast shrieked out in pain. The intense pain caused its huge body to struggle on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. The dust and sand in the air became denser as well. It was so dark that it was impossible to see anything. Jianshin originally wanted to use this opportunity to blind the Xianhuang beast's other eye, but he could only give up helplessly when he saw how the Xianhuang beast struggled without any pattern. He retreated. The Xianhuang beast's pain was not only because of the loss of its eye, but also because of the tiny strand of chaotic force that Jianshin had left in its eye. Wherever the chaotic force passed by, the surrounding flesh would be destroyed, and the strand of chaotic force would quickly spread toward the center of its brain. The Xianhuang beast seemed to sense the threat in its head as well. The energy within it immediately surged out like a flood, rapidly spreading toward its head. It then surrounded the tiny strand of chaotic force and slowly destroyed it. As soon as the sliver of chaotic force within the Xianhuang beast vanished, Jianshin sensed it. He thought, these Xianhuang beasts must have absorbed some Xianhuang qi since they grew up in the Xianhuang microcosm. Xianhuang qi is equivalent to chaotic force, so they have enough power to resist it. The threat of my chaotic force to the Xianhuang beasts has decreased by a lot. Only when I use it on Xianhuang beasts that are weaker than me will I have an even greater advantage. My chaotic force can't even reach the central nervous system of the Xianhuang beast before it's destroyed. Looks like with my current strength, I'll be able to break through its weak points. Even with my current strength, it'll be very difficult to kill a Class 9 Xianhuang beast. Jianchen stared at the Xianhuang beast that was still struggling in pain. The light in his eyes flickered, and he seemed to think of something. A gleam of light flashed through his eyes, and in the next moment, the saint artifact flew out from between his eyebrows. With a wave of his hand, he pulled out an item from the artifact space. Chapter 1272. In Jianchen's hand, there was a ball of pure energy the size of a pinky finger. This was the strand of Emperor's Might that he had obtained from Tisniak when he was fighting for the 8 Wastelands. It was something that the Hall Master of Dragon God Temple had personally left in Tisniak's body. Ever since Jianshan had obtained this strand of Emperor's Might, it had been stored in the artifact space, guarded by the artifact spirit. After such a long time, Jianshan had almost forgotten about this strand of Emperor's Might. Only now did he recall it. The Xianhuang microcosm could suppress all forms of energy, except for Jianshan's chaotic force and Taita's energy. The moment the strand of Emperor's Might appeared in Jianshan's hand, it dissipated rapidly. Jianshan knew that this strand of Holy Emperor's Might could not be exposed outside for too long. He glanced at the region where the Type 9 crocodile had stirred up dust and charged in without hesitation. He used his divine sense to scan the surroundings and charged towards the head of the Type 9 crocodile. The Type 9 crocodile seemed to have sensed that Jianshan possessed a power that could threaten it. It actually temporarily forgot about the pain of being blinded and began to retreat slowly. At the same time, there was a clear paw in the air as its thick and nimble tail whipped towards Jianshan. Jianshan's primordial spirit could clearly sense the trajectory of the tail, and he dodged it nimbly. In a flash, he appeared before the head of the Type 9 crocodile and used his fastest speed to send out the strand of Emperor's Might. In order to not let this strand of Emperor's Might go to waste, Jianshan even attached a strand of his divine sense to it, allowing him to control it in the nick of time. The speed of the strand of Emperor's Might was extremely fast, aiming for the blinded eye of the Type 9 crocodile. The Type 9 crocodile wanted to dodge, but it was too slow. In the end, under the control of Jianshan's divine sense, the strand of Emperor's Might shot into the blind eye of the Type 9 crocodile. Following a muffled explosion, the Emperor force exploded within the head of the Type 9 alligator. The powerful shockwave caused the entire head of the Type 9 alligator to shudder violently. Fresh blood mixed with milky white liquid spurted out from the Type 9 alligator's ears, mouth, nostrils, and eyes like a fountain. If the strand of Emperor's Might had struck the Type 9 crocodile directly, it would have only been able to injure it slightly. However, if it exploded in the most vulnerable part of the Type 9 crocodile's head, it would definitely be fatal. Even the tough body of a Class 9 Xianhuang beast would not be able to endure it. The Type 9 crocodile froze. Its other eye had been destroyed by the explosion of the Emperor's Might, and its huge body collapsed as if it had lost all strength. It no longer moved. Jianshan stood beside the corpse and exhaled deeply. He had finally killed the Class 9 Xianhuang beast. However, Jianshan knew extremely well that if it were not for the strand of Emperor's Might, it would have been extremely difficult to kill the Xianhuang beast even if he had blinded it. At this moment, a roar rang out in the distance. The Type 9 crocodile that fought Taita immediately charged toward Jianshan with bloodshot eyes when it saw its companion die. It even ignored Taita, who was on its back. At this moment, Taita finally cut through the Xianhuang beast's hide. He immediately swung his axe at the Xianhuang beast's flesh. Although the Xianhuang beast's flesh was tough, it was nowhere near as tough as the skin on its body. Taita's axe cut deeply into the beast's hide, causing blood to splatter all over his face. However, the Xianhuang beast was 1,000 meters long, so the wound from Taita's strike was no different from scratching an itch to the Xianhuang beast. Taita did not become dejected at all. He had cut through the Xianhuang beast's hide after so much difficulty, so he immediately used it as an opening. His axe shone with a golden light as he swung at the same wound again and again, tirelessly. Right now, the last Class 9 Xianhuang beast only had eyes for Jianshan. It completely ignored Tai Ta, who constantly attacked it on its back, because Tai Ta's attacks were no different from a mosquito bite to the Xianhuang beast. The Xianhuang beast quickly ran toward Jianshan. It radiated with a tremendous presence, locking onto Jianshan. Jianshan faced a mountainous pressure. Jianshan remained where he was with his sword. He sternly stared at the Xianhuang beast as he thought about how to deal with it. He no longer had the power of an emperor, so the method he used on the first Xianhuang beast was clearly useless. Even if he blinded the Xianhuang beast's eyes and channeled chaotic force into it, he would not be able to achieve the desired effect. This was because chaotic force had been greatly weakened when used on Xianhuang beasts. The Xianhuang beast possessed Xianhuang Qi. Even though it was not pure and was extremely thin, it was still an energy that was as powerful as chaotic force. The Class 9 Xianhuang beast quickly arrived before Jianshan. It opened its mouth and bit at Jianshan, revealing 2 rows of sharp teeth that flickered with an icy cold light. Just the sight of it was enough to cause people to shiver. A gleam of light flashed through Jianshan's eyes when he saw how the Xianhuang beast wanted to eat him. This time, he did not dodge. Before the Xianhuang beast could bite him, he shot toward the Xianhuang beast's mouth like an arrow. He carefully avoided the Xianhuang beast's teeth and slid down its esophagus before the Xianhuang beast's head could reach him. He had entered its stomach. The stomach was pitch black. Jianshan used the senses of his soul to observe the surroundings. He clearly understood the situation within the Xianhuang beast. The surface of his body was covered in corrosive gastric acid. Even though Jianshan felt a burning pain, he was still able to endure it with the toughness of the 3rd layer of the chaotic body. Jianshan did not hesitate at all as soon as he entered its stomach. He raised the Emperor armament and swung it around wildly, doing his best to destroy the Xianhuang beast's life force. The Class 9 Xianhuang beast struggled to endure this time. It was an excruciating pain from the severe internal injuries, causing it to constantly wail out in pain. It struggled violently, almost throwing Tai Ta off its back. Jianshan's Emperor armament shot out a streak of light that was several meters long. With a single swing, he swept through all the organs in a radius of 4 meters. He advanced through the Xianhuang beast's body, directly approaching its brain. All the walls of flesh that blocked his path were cut through like he was cutting through thorns. However, at this moment, Jianshan sensed an invisible force wrap around him. Just when he was about to react, the force wrapped around him. The force was extremely powerful, actually preventing Jianshan from opening his eyes for a short period of time. Afterward, he saw a flash of light and was spat out by the alligator. However, the Xianhuang beast clearly no longer dared to open its mouth after this lesson. It only closed its mouth after spitting out Jianshan. Jianshan quickly stabilized himself and used the same trick. He swung a sword qi at the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust that blocked the Xianhuang beast's vision. Afterward, he concealed his presence and silently arrived before the Xianhuang beast. With a lightning-like strike, he blinded one of its eyes. The Xianhuang beast could not help but wail out. Its mouth opened as well, and Jianshan used this opportunity to enter its body once more. He did not stop at all. Using the Emperor armament to clear a path, he quickly approached the Xianhuang beast's brain. At this moment, Jianshan sharply sensed the invisible force encircle him once more. He had already arrived in the Xianhuang beast's brain, so he sent a sword qi forward without any hesitation. He targeted the central nervous system of the Xianhuang beast. Immediately, a small portion of the central nervous system of the Xianhuang beast was destroyed by Jianshan's sword qi. Although it was not completely dead, it was still fatally injured. It roared out in pain at the sky as its body swayed, almost falling to the ground. The energy it had just gathered in its head dissipated as it lost control. Jianshan knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He suddenly increased his speed and arrived before the central nervous system of the Xianhuang beast as quickly as he could. He quickly swung his Emperor armament, creating an airtight net of sword qi in a single moment. He completely destroyed the central nervous system of the Xianhuang beast. Boom! No matter how powerful the Xianhuang beast vitality was, it could not withstand the arrival of death with its central nervous system destroyed. Its heavy body finally collapsed to the ground. Sensing the Xianhuang beast's rapidly depleting life force, Taita stopped his pointless swings. He stared at the huge creature that had collapsed on the ground and was clearly stunned. He leaped down from the Xianhuang beast's corpse and sniggered. Jianshun is still the best. I've only just cut through its skin, yet you've already killed it. Spurt! One of the Xianhuang beast's eyeballs suddenly exploded. Jianshun emerged from the Xianhuang beast's head, covered in various liquids. He tossed a blood-soaked energy crystal to Taita and said, Taita, this is yours. It's equivalent to a Class 9 monster core. It can increase your strength by quite a lot. Taita caught the thumb-sized energy crystal and seriously said, Jianshun, you killed these two Xianhuang beasts, so this belongs to you in the first place. I can't accept it. With that, Taita wanted to toss the energy crystal to Jianshun. Jianshun raised his hand to stop Taita. He said, the Xianhuang beasts we've encountered are getting stronger and stronger. There will definitely be many more Class 9 Xianhuang beasts waiting for us. There might even be Xianhuang beasts that have surpassed Class 9 and are even more powerful than the Holy Emperor. The two of us won't be able to go very far with our current strength, so we need to increase our strength as soon as possible. Only by becoming stronger can we hunt even more Class 9 Xianhuang beasts. Jianshun had already made up his mind. Once he collected the 5th grade comprehension tea tree and flame cloud fruit, he would immediately enter seclusion and break through to the 4th layer of the chaotic body. He would not hesitate, even if he had to waste some precious time. This was because he knew that there would definitely be even more precious, heavenly resources of even higher quality later on. However, the Xianhuang beasts guarding those heavenly resources would probably all be Class 9, and there might even be peak existences among them. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to make it that far. He could only become stronger. Only by becoming stronger would he be able to go even further and obtain even more. Taita understood that Jianshun's words made sense, so he did not refuse. He accepted the Class 9 energy crystal. Afterward, Jianshun removed an energy crystal of the same size from the other Xianhuang beast and stored it in his space ring. He then moved the 2 corpses into the artifact space. In the end, he took out some first-grade immortal tier spring water to wash himself. After changing into a new set of clothes, he returned to the region guarded by the 2 Class 9 Xianhuang beasts with Taita. Scarlet Gold, Oregon. That Scarlet Gold, Oregon Master, we found another material for forging the azulate swords. As soon as he made it to the top of the mountain, before he could even pluck a leaf, the joyous voices of the sword's spirits rang out. Jianshun looked over and saw a golden rock half the height of a person in the pit where the 2 Class 9 alligators resided. It was extremely eye-catching, shining like gold. Jianshun was overjoyed. He immediately ignored the comprehension tea tree and ran toward the Scarlet Gold, Oregon. Although the comprehension tea tree was precious, it was not as precious as a material for forging the azulate swords in Jianshun's eyes. Chapter 1273. Jianshun stowed the Scarlet Gold into his space ring as if he had just obtained a treasure. Afterward, he sucked in a deep breath and slowly calmed his excitement. He was getting closer and closer to the day when he could forge the twin swords because he was only missing the final ingredient, the Een Hellstone, out of all the most precious materials he needed to forge the twin swords. Jianshun then arrived before the comprehension tea tree. It was the same size as the ones he had seen before, but the presence of ways on each leaf was even denser. This tree of enlightenment was a 5th grade immortal grade tree of enlightenment. It was far more precious than the 3 first-grade trees of enlightenment he had encountered before. Jianshun took out a crude wooden box from the artifact space before carefully breaking off 2 twigs from the tree. Using the twigs as chopsticks, he began to pluck the leaves one by one. After plucking all 81 leaves, Jianshun arrived at the edge of the cliff. He carefully climbed down the smooth cliff face before arriving beside the flame cloud fruit tree. He then took out a slightly larger wooden box from the artifact space and began to collect the flame cloud fruits. The flame cloud fruits were completely red. Every single one of them was only the size of a finger. They were the smallest heavenly resources Jianshan had ever seen. However, although the flame cloud fruits were extremely small, the energy they contained could not be underestimated. As soon as Jianshan touched the fruit, he could clearly sense an extremely lively fire-attributed energy. It was extremely pure and vast. Even a 100,000-year-old heavenly resource could not compare to a finger-sized flame cloud fruit. A total of 99 flame cloud fruits were plucked by Jianshan without leaving a single one behind. After collecting the flame cloud fruits, Jianshan arrived before the spring of life that nourished the land of life. The spring of life in the oasis was the largest spring of life Jianshan had seen since he had come to the Xianhuang microcosm. Before him was a small lake that was 30 meters wide. It was filled with green spring of life, radiating with an extremely vast presence of life. This is 5th grade spring of life. Ziying recognized the grade of the spring of life with a single glance and immediately informed Jianshan. Jianshan rejoiced inside with that. The best spring of life he had stored in the artifact space was only of the 3rd grade, yet not only was the spring of life before him at the 5th grade, but there was so much of it as well. He immediately became wild with joy. Without any hesitation, Jianshan immediately took out a container to collect the spring of life. In the end, half of the lake's spring of life was taken away by him as well. He also found a head-sized essence in the center of the lake. It was also of the 5th grade of the immortal tier. Afterward, Jianshan searched around the peak of the mountain before leaving without finding anything. He searched the surroundings of the land of life, basically turning it upside down. In the end, he found over a dozen immortal tier heavenly resources with the help of the sword spirit. It's time to increase my strength. I can finally break through to the 4th layer of the chaotic body. Jianshan patted the dust off his hands before taking out the Saint artifact. He called out to Tai Ta and entered the artifact space with Tai Ta. The Saint artifact was not exposed to the outside world. It turned into a golden streak of light and disappeared into the ground. It had already hidden itself deeply, preventing any sudden Class 9 Xianhuang beasts from coming. After all, the Saint artifact could only block attacks from experts like the Holy Emperor. Class 9 Xianhuang beasts on par with the Holy Emperor were enough to destroy the Saint artifact. Jianshan tossed a few immortal tier heavenly resources to the white tiger within the artifact space, causing the white tiger to fall into a deep slumber that it had not appeared for quite some time. Afterward, he and Tai Ta chose a place to begin cultivating. Jianshan organized his cultivation resources in the cold and gloomy room. The resources that could help him break through to the 4th layer of the chaotic body were violet cloud peaches that could increase his cultivation by 500 years. They were equivalent to 2 Class 9 monster cores, an energy crystal from a Class 9 Xianhuang beast, 2 of the 5 Class 9 monster cores he had obtained from the Heaven's Incense School to Shangwan Aojian, so he still had 3 left. He also had several Class 7 and 8 monster cores. I'm about to break through to the 4th layer of the chaotic body, so I need a violet cloud peach that can increase my cultivation by 1,500 years. I don't have any 3rd grade violet cloud peaches, but I do have some 1st grade ones. Coupled with the 4 Class 9 monster cores I have, it's just enough. However, I can only eat a single violet cloud peach every 100 years. If I eat one now, I'll have to wait 100 years before I can eat a second one. I might even be able to find a violet cloud peach of an even higher grade in the future, so I can't waste this once-in-a-century opportunity. Whatever, I won't eat a violet cloud peach this time. I'll use Class 7 and 8 monster cores instead, Jianshan thought. He then pulled out all the high-class monster cores and several dozen Class 7 and 8 energy crystals he had obtained from killing Xianhuang beasts. He placed them all on the ground and began to cultivate. Jianshan first absorbed the energy crystals he had obtained from the Xianhuang beasts. He discovered that the energy crystals were far more powerful than monster cores of the same grade. Not only was the energy inside much purer than monster cores, but they also lacked the berserk factor from monster cores, so absorbing them was much easier. On the Tian-Yuan continent, no one dared to simply absorb the energy within monster cores to cultivate. The main reason for this was that the energy within monster cores, regardless of whether they were high or low class, contained a berserk factor. Not only could it destroy the body, but if this berserk factor was concealed, it would cause great problems for one's future cultivation. In serious cases, it could even cause one to explode and die. As a result, all the cultivators on the Tian-Yuan continent needed to absorb a certain amount of energy before they could stabilize their strength. At the same time, they had to purge the berserk factor from their bodies. This would take up quite a lot of time. The reason why Jianshan could ignore the berserk factor from monster cores in the past was all because of the assistance of the sword spirits. They allowed Jianshan to cultivate without any worries. The energy crystals from the Xianhuang beasts did not contain the berserk factor from monster cores, so even if he gave them to the cultivators on the Tian-Yuan continent to absorb, they would not suffer from any side effects. Jianshan was immediately overjoyed after understanding this. He thought of Mingdong's friends and his family. He only needed to bring back enough energy crystals, and the strength of the people around him would rapidly increase. Once I break through to the fourth layer of the chaotic body, I'll definitely hunt down a few more Xianhuang beasts and collect even more energy crystals. Jianshan made up his mind. Before he had entered the Xianhuang microcosm, he had planned on returning immediately after collecting everything the sea goddess needed, but now that he had discovered the benefits of the Xianhuang microcosm, he was tempted to stay in there for a few more years. He might even stay in there and not leave at all. Other than that, Jianshan also sensed extremely thin strands of Xianhuang qi from the energy crystals. However, he was unable to absorb the Xianhuang qi, so he could only let it disperse in the air. Even the sword spirits were unable to do anything about it. Chapter 1274. Jianshan could only give up on trying to absorb the Xianhuang qi after listening to the sword spirit's explanation. He began to focus on cultivation. 100,000 kilometers away from the kingdom of Jessin, there was a city completely forged from precious tungsten alloy. Although the city was not one of the 7 capital cities, it was one of the most powerful cities on the Tian-Yuan continent. From a certain perspective, the city was countless times more valuable than any of the capital cities on the Tian-Yuan continent. This was because the city was completely forged from tungsten alloy. Tungsten alloy was an extremely precious metal on the Tian-Yuan continent. Its defense was extremely great, and just by weight, a kilogram of tungsten alloy would cost 5 kilograms of purple gold. No one knew just how much tungsten alloy had been used to forge the city. Just the price of the city had reached a shocking level. Such an expensive city had indeed attracted the attention of the various large organizations on the Tian-Yuan continent. Even a few ancient clans had been tempted by it. However, the owner of the city was just too famous, so all of them gave up on the idea of taking it for themselves. This city was Flame City that belonged to the Flame Mercenaries. At this moment, Bai Lian, who held the greatest authority in the Flame Mercenaries and was basically in charge of everything in the Flame Mercenaries, was chatting with Yu in the luxurious city lord's residence that had been constructed like an imperial palace. She would chuckle softly from time to time. In order to prevent the Holy Emperor, who had fled from the underworld sect, from taking revenge on the Flame Mercenaries, Yu had been guarding the Flame Mercenaries with the bright Moon Divine Hall. The silver-white Divine Hall had shrunk to the size of a normal palace and stood quietly behind the city. Fairy Hao Yue's soul was in there, so as soon as the Holy Emperor entered the city lord's estate, they would be discovered by Fairy Hao Yue immediately. Originally, with Fairy Hao Yue's status and pride, it was impossible for her to protect a mercenary group that had nothing to do with her. However, when she considered that she needed Jianshan's help and that she might need Jianshan's help in the future, she reluctantly agreed to temporarily protect the city. The silver-white Bright Moon Divine Hall seemed extremely conspicuous in the city lord's estate that was constructed from black bricks and red tiles. Even during the day, the bright moonlight from the Divine Hall could be seen clearly. The The area 1,000 meters around the Divine Hall had become a forbidden zone that no one could set foot in. Neither the patrolling guards nor the upper echelon of the flame mercenaries were allowed to set foot there. At this moment, the space above the city began to distort violently. A while later, a space gate rapidly formed and several Holy Emperor experts strode out. They stared at the city below emotionlessly. These people were the 9 Holy Emperor experts who had hurried over from Mercenary City. The Yuan sect and Yangji Zong had each sent 2 Holy Emperor experts and 5 independent Holy Emperor experts to borrow the Divine Hall. As soon as the 9 Holy Emperor experts arrived in the city, their tremendous presences flooded the surroundings, enveloping the entire city. A few of the weaker mercenaries in the city immediately vomited blood from the pressure as their faces paled. At that moment, the orderly city fell into chaos from the presences of the 9 Holy Emperor experts. The streets were filled with people. Although they did not die, they were all heavily injured from the tremendous presences. Their organs had all ruptured, and a few of the buildings in the city collapsed from the pressure of the 9 Holy Emperor's presences. Baihai and the saint rulers of the flame mercenaries flew out of the city lord's estate in a hurry. They all became extremely stern when they saw the 9 Holy Emperor experts hovering in the air. Bai Lian, who had been chatting with Yu, also stood up sternly. She looked outside and asked in a heavy voice, "What's happened?" Yu held Bai Lian's hand and comforted her. "Sister Bai Lian, don't worry. Sister Yu is here to support you." "Yeah, Yu, let's go out and have a look." Someone who can give off such a powerful presence is probably a Holy Emperor. "I'm afraid that great-grandfather Baihai and the others are in danger," Bai Lian said rather anxiously. She was extremely worried for Baihai's safety. Yu nodded. She took Bai Lian's hand and walked out. She had the bright moon Divine Hall to rely on. Even if she faced a Saint Emperor, she did not fear them at all. Fairy Hao Yue sensed the arrival of the 9 Holy Emperor experts in Flame City, but she did not do anything. Instead, she remained in the bright moon Divine Hall, secretly observing the situation outside. Baihai flew into the air with the saint rulers of the flame mercenaries. He stopped at the same altitude as the 9 Holy Emperor experts and clasped his hands. He asked in an extremely unfriendly tone, "May I ask who you are, and why have you come to make trouble for my flame mercenaries? Do you think that our flame mercenaries do not have a Holy Emperor?" The eyes of the 9 Holy Emperor experts all turned cold when they heard Baihai's words. However, Yang Jizong and the 4 Holy Emperor experts from the Yuan sect said nothing. They understood the strength of the flame mercenaries extremely well. The mercenaries themselves were not very powerful. However, behind them was a captain that even the protector clans did not dare to offend. They could take the flame mercenaries down a notch, but they did not dare to casually injure people. Not to mention, the person before them was Jianshin's great-grandfather. They could not guarantee that if they harmed even a hair on Baihai, Jianshin would not go crazy and cause trouble for the protector clans with the 3 magical beasts. However, just because the Holy Emperor experts from the Yuan sect and Yangji Zong did not dare to touch Baihai did not mean that the 5 independent Holy Emperor experts who did not understand the strength of the flame mercenaries would not touch Baihai. When the 5 independent cultivators saw how a mere saint ruler like Baihai did not greet the 9 Holy Emperor experts politely and even question them in an unfriendly manner, the proud Holy Emperor experts had become displeased long ago. Immediately, a short old man at the 4th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor stepped forward. A tremendous presence immediately pressed down on Baihai. He sneered. "So what if your flame mercenaries have a Holy Emperor? You're just a puny saint ruler. How dare you speak so rudely to the 9 of us? The old man can kill you. Even if your Holy Emperor is here, he'll have to apologize to the 9 of us." With that, the short old man directly sent a palm strike toward Baihai. He used the Holy Emperor's ability. With the palm strike, energy surged and the space before him froze, firmly immobilizing Baihai. However, he failed to notice that Baihai had been holding a rock in his right hand when he arrived. The rock was one of the 3 flaming jadeite that the president of the Radiant Saint Master Union had given to him. At the same time, Ruijin and the others had filled it with energy, allowing it to unleash an attack at the great perfection of the Holy Emperor. Baihai knew that they had ill intentions this time, and there were 9 Holy Emperor experts. As a result, he secretly held the flaming jadeite in his hand just in case. Chapter 1275. The flaming jadeite shone with a dazzling light as it shot towards the short old man with a powerful pulse of energy. Wherever it passed, the surrounding space shook violently. Pitch-black spatial cracks were ripped open by the terrifying shockwaves from the flaming jadeite. The short old man turned pale with fright. The energy from the flaming jadeite was so powerful that it made him tremble. After all, this was equivalent to an attack from a complete realm expert. With the strength of a 4th celestial layer, how could a holy emperor block it? Even if he blocked it, he would be severely injured. What is this thing? Could it be a strand of the holy emperor's power left in this holy emperor's body by a complete realm expert? Impossible. The power of a saint emperor that has entered a person's body definitely can't display such a terrifying aura. The short old man could no longer maintain his composure. He quickly retreated as he anxiously asked the other 8 holy emperor for help. Everyone, let's block this attack together. Otherwise, we won't be able to bear the consequences. The other 8 holy emperor also became serious. None of them had thought that Baihai, who was only a holy king, would have such a heaven-defying item on him. It could suddenly erupt with such power. If any one of them had to block this attack, they would have been heavily injured. Without needing the short old man to ask for help, the 8 holy emperor already prepared to block this attack together. This was because the short old man was standing in front of them. The flaming jadeite was shooting towards them as well as the short old man. It would be difficult for them to stay out of the battle. A tremendous amount of energy surged out from the 8 saint kings. The 9 of them struck out at the same time at the flaming jadeite, and the surging ripples of energy collided with the flaming jadeite, causing the space around them to tremble. Boom! With a deafening sound, the sky above Flame City seemed to explode with resplendent fireworks. Violent ripples of energy shook up the surroundings, wreaking havoc in all directions. A portion of it directly swept toward the city below. The expressions of Baihai and the other saint rulers all changed drastically. The ripples of energy came from the battle between the Holy Emperor and were extremely powerful. They could only protect themselves before the ripples of energy, but they were unable to prevent the ripples from reaching Flame City. If the ripples of energy reached the city below, many of the weaker people in the city would die. Yu, who had personally witnessed all of this, understood this as well. Her beautiful eyes radiated coldness as the moon god's scepter silently appeared in her hand. The fist-sized gemstone on the scepter shone with hazy moonlight. Yu waved the scepter, and an incomparably pure ray of moonlight radiated from the gemstone. It formed a seemingly weak barrier around raging Flame City. The powerful ripples of energy from the clash between the flaming jadeite and the 9 holy emperor experts viciously collided with the barrier created by Yu. The barrier immediately began to shake violently. But fortunately, the barrier only endured some of the ripples of energy and not the direct attacks of the holy emperor experts. It successfully withstood it. After the rampaging ripples of energy in the sky calmed down, the barrier of moonlight force silently vanished as well. Yu looked at the exquisite scepter in her hand with some heartache. She could clearly sense that it had used up quite a lot of energy again. The energy that Master left behind in the scepter is becoming less and less. Yu sighed inside, but she soon became furious. She stared at the 9 holy emperor experts in the sky in an unfriendly manner. If she had not interfered in time, Flame City would have been heavily injured because of the 9 of them. The 9 holy emperor experts hovered in the sky with sunken faces. They were unscathed. Half of them were at the 5th heavenly layer, and 2 of them were even at the 7th heavenly layer. As a result, the flaming jadeite's attack at great perfection did not injure them at all when they worked together. Killing intent filled the eyes of a short old man who had attacked Bai Hai. He was a mighty holy emperor, yet he had almost been injured by a mere saint ruler. Even though he did not know what the saint ruler had used to unleash such a terrifying attack, it was still a great humiliation to him that he would never be able to wash away. Very good. I never thought that there would be so many fearless people on the Tian Yuan continent after the old man had lived in seclusion for over 1,000 years. A mere saint ruler dares to look down on the dignity of a holy emperor. Just this alone is unforgivable. Junior, it doesn't matter who is supporting you. The old man will kill you today, said the short old man. He also thought that since Bai Hai could take out such a terrifying flaming jadeite, he definitely had the support of a powerful holy emperor. However, he had come with the glorious mission of saving the Tian Yuan continent this time. Not only did he have the protector clans in Mercenary City behind him, but he also had the support of all the holy emperor experts on the Tian Yuan continent. He obviously felt no fear. Don't you dare. If you dare to harm great-grandfather Bai Hai in the slightest, none of the 9 of you will be leaving Flame City today. A cold voice rang out from below as soon as the short old man finished speaking. Yu Yu was enveloped by a layer of pure moonlight force as she quickly flew up from the city lord's estate. At the same time, the bright moon divine hall rose up from the ground, hovering above Yu Yu's head. The eyes of the 9 holy emperor experts immediately turned cold when they heard Yu Yu's threatening words. They all became flustered and infuriated. The 9 holy emperor experts had mobilized so many people to borrow the bright moon divine hall, but they had never thought that a saint ruler would try to intimidate them before they could even say anything. They had almost been reduced to a horrible state. Now, they had even been threatened by a woman who was not even a saint ruler, which greatly embarrassed them. A holy emperor in red robes coldly snorted. Just when he was about to step forward, he was stopped by the great elder Jiqian of Yangjizhou. He said through a communication technique, "Brother Jiqian, we've come to borrow the bright moon divine hall this time, not to cause trouble. It's best if we don't waste too much time here. Leave this to me." Originally, Jiqian was very happy to let the 5 independent holy emperor experts teach the flame mercenaries a lesson, but he was worried that he would be dragged into the mess, so he could only give up on the idea. The matter of borrowing the bright moon divine hall was for the sake of suppressing the seal beneath Mercenary City. It was for the sake of the people of the world. As a result, Jiqian was free to take it. Even if Jianshan wanted to punish him, he would have the support of all the experts on the continent, so he obviously had nothing to fear. Jianshan, it's true that Yangjizhou, don't have the strength to deal with you, but I can still destroy the bright moon divine hall when the world of forsaken saints invades the Tian Yuan continent, as long as I can shave away a portion of your strength. So what if I have to bear some pressure? If you really want to use this matter to make things difficult for me, Yangjizhou, I won't even need to personally do anything. All the experts on the continent will become your enemy. Jiqian sneered inside. Jiqian was tempted to leave with the bright moon divine hall as soon as he thought up to there. Without any hesitation, he forcefully suppressed his anger because of Yu Yu and coldly said, "You're called Yu Yu, right? Our Tian Yuan continent is currently facing an existential crisis. A tunnel to another world is sealed beneath Mercenary City. Now that the seal has been broken, the experts of the other world can invade our continent at any time. The 9 of us have come to save the people of the world, so we've come to borrow the bright moon divine hall to block the tunnel beneath Mercenary City. Time is tight right now, so please hand over the bright moon divine hall to us immediately so that we can take it back to Mercenary City." Yu Yu snorted coldly. "The bright moon divine hall is not mine. It's my master's. If you want to borrow it, you should ask my master." Jiqian was immediately tongue-tied. In reality, he had thought that Yu Yu would refuse, so he had thought of many excuses and reasons. He had even been prepared to use force. However, he had never thought that Yu Yu would reply like that, telling him to directly ask Fairy Haoyue to borrow the divine hall. Among the 9 holy emperors, Yangjizhou and the 4 holy emperor from the Yuan sect all knew that Fairy Haoyue was still alive. Her soul had always existed and was still in the bright moon divine hall. In their eyes, Fairy Hao Yue was only a paper tiger apart from the great reputation she had left behind in the past. She could only rely on the toughness of the bright Moon Divine Hall to protect her soul. However, the 5 independent holy emperors did not know that Fairy Hao Yue's soul was still alive. The short old man sneered. Fairy Hao Yue has already been dead for several tens of thousands of years. Yet you want us to borrow the divine hall from the dead Fairy Hao Yue? That's the greatest joke in the world. Everyone, the matter of suppressing the seal is very urgent. We can't delay any longer. Let's take the divine hall and leave. As soon as the old man's voice fell, the bright moon divine hall floating above Yu Yu's head suddenly emitted an intense silver-white moonlight. The divine hall's volume rapidly increased, and in an instant, it became an incomparably huge and magnificent divine hall. It was like a dark cloud covering the top of her head. Who said this fairy was already dead? A cold voice mightily came from the bright moon divine hall. Immediately, an incomparably tall illusory figure appeared above the divine hall. Her robe fluttered in the wind, and her temperament was otherworldly. She was Fairy Hao Yue, but her face was blurry and could not be seen clearly. The expression of the short old man who had previously said that Fairy Hao Yue was already dead changed greatly. He could clearly feel the incomparably powerful soul power coming from Fairy Hao Yue's body. It was actually suppressing his soul to the point that it was difficult to move. You don't tell me you're Fairy Hao Yue. The short old man was horrified, and his face was filled with disbelief. This Fairy Hao Yue's soul is so powerful. No wonder she can live until now, and her soul is still intact. Yang Jizong and the Holy Emperor of the Yuan sect were secretly surprised as well, but they were not afraid. Fairy Hao Yue posed no threat to them with just her powerful soul. They also guessed that Fairy Hao Yue's soul was unable to leave the bright Moon Divine Hall. Fairy Hao coldly stared at the 9 Holy Emperor experts and sternly said, "I've already sensed the changes in Mercenary City. The Earth Spirit guarding the city has already reached returnants. If even she can't stop them, you won't be able to change anything even if you take my bright Moon Divine Hall." Chapter 1276. Fairy Hao Yue's complexion turned cold. The actions of this supreme elder of Yi Yuan school had aroused the anger in her heart. She coldly said, "You are really bold. A mere holy emperor dares to be disrespectful to this fairy. Do you want to forcibly take away this fairy's divine palace? Not to mention a mere holy emperor like you. Even if a holy emperor personally came here, he would have to return empty-handed. Now, this fairy will give you one last chance to leave this place immediately. Otherwise, don't blame this fairy for being impolite." After listening to Fairy Hao Yue's threatening words, the Supreme Elder of Yi Yuan School couldn't help but laugh and said, "Fairy Hao Yue, if you really had the strength of the past, we would naturally be as weak as ants in your eyes. Unfortunately, you only have your soul left now. Let me ask you, what can you do in your soul state? Although your soul is very powerful, I guess that your soul cannot leave the bright Moon Divine Palace. Otherwise, it won't be long before your soul dissipates between heaven and earth." A dense killing intent appeared in Fairy Hao Yue's cold and beautiful eyes. The Fairy Hao Yue had been so proud all her life, but now she was being bullied by a holy emperor who was even weaker than an ant in her eyes. This made the anger in her heart burn fiercely, and her killing intent soared rapidly. Fairy Hao Yue's reaction was seen by the 9 Holy Emperor experts, which confirmed the Supreme Elder of Yi Yuan School's conjecture. The Supreme Elder of Yi Yuan School couldn't help but burst into laughter and said, "Hao Yue, now, we know that you have arranged many formations inside the Divine Palace. It can even trap Holy Emperor experts. But as long as we don't enter the Bright Moon Divine Palace, the formations inside will not pose the slightest threat to us. We have come this time for the sake of the common people. I hope Fairy Hao Yue can understand." Afterward, the Supreme Elder of Yi Yuan School looked at the 8 people behind him and said, "Everyone, time is tight right now. We can't waste too much time on the matter of the seal. For the sake of the common people, we can't care about anything else. The 9 of us will immediately work together to seal up the bright moon divine palace and forcefully take it to Mercenary City. Without any hesitation, the 8 holy emperor experts all flew toward the bright moon divine palace. At the same time, Bai Hai and the saint rulers of the flame mercenaries were trapped by the frozen space again, immobilized. Below, Bai Lian stared at the 9 holy emperor experts flying toward the bright moon divine palace with an ugly expression. The light in her eyes flickered as she hesitated. She also had flaming jadeite that could unleash an attack from a holy emperor at great perfection in her space ring. At the same time, there were quite a few quaking thunders that Jianshan had left for her. Although they were not as powerful as the flaming jadeite, they could still unleash an attack from a holy emperor. Right now, she was hesitating over whether she should use the flaming jadeite and the quaking thunders. When Jianshan had given them to Bai Lian, he had said that she should not use them unless she was in danger. However, Bai Lian understood that even if she used the flaming jadeite and the quaking thunders, she probably would not be the opponent of the 9 holy emperor experts in the current situation. With the 9 of them working together, the flaming jadeite would no longer be able to threaten them. The 9 holy emperor experts had already arrived before the bright moon divine palace. The energy around them surged as they prepared to seal up the bright moon divine palace and forcefully take it to Mercenary City. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly changed. A huge, round moon slowly rose up from the bright moon divine palace, shining with pure and gentle moonlight. It was not a true moon, but a manifestation of moonlight force. Control was a manifestation of the divine ability technique. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Even if I'm only left with a soul, I'm not someone a few ants can bully. Fairy Hao Yue's voice rang out from the divine palace. She had already vanished, completely concealing herself within the divine palace. The faces of the 9 holy emperor experts all changed. They discovered that when the full moon rose up from the divine palace, their bodies had been sealed up by an invisible force, making it impossible for them to move. This was not a holy emperor's ability, nor was it a holy emperor's ability. Instead, it had sealed them up using a method they did not understand. Even the tremendous energy within their bodies was no longer under their control. What is this? Damn it. Fairy Hao Yue is clearly only left with a soul. How can she still seal our bodies? Even if she was once a peak holy emperor, she still shouldn't be able to do this. Yang Jizong and the 4 great elders of the Yuan sect were shocked. Only now did they suddenly realize that Fairy Hao Yue was not as simple as they had imagined. Peak holy emperor experts had appeared in the 10 protector clans before. However, according to the records of ancient records, even a peak holy emperor expert would not be able to display such a powerful ability once they lost their physical body and only had a soul left. Fairy Hao Yue, what have you done to us? A loose cultivator holy emperor shouted angrily at the bright moon divine temple. Although his voice was stern, it was obvious that he lacked chi. This was because even with his knowledge and experience, he was completely unable to distinguish what kind of power was sealing him up. Everyone, don't panic. Fairy Hao Yue is most likely using some kind of ancient secret technique. However, this kind of secret technique must consume a lot of energy. She definitely won't be able to hold on for long. Yang Jizong's great elder Jitian said in a deep voice. He tried his best to control the power in his body and break through the mysterious power that was binding him. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not control the energy in his body at all. At this moment, the faces of the 9 people changed again. In an instant, they turned pale and their eyes were full of horror. The 9 of them simultaneously found that the power in their bodies was drifting out of their bodies uncontrollably. Eventually, it was all absorbed by the bright moon divine temple. Oh no, Fairy Hao Yue is absorbing our power, a holy emperor cried out. He was both surprised and furious. The other 8 holy emperors were shocked as well, because they discovered that they could only watch helplessly as their power was absorbed by the bright moon divine hall, let alone stopping it. They did not even have the ability to flee. This was an extremely terrifying thing for them. Once all the energy in their bodies was sucked dry, it would have an extremely serious impact on their strength. Fairy How US stop. Stop. Fairy How US stop. You've become an enemy of the entire Tian Yuan continent. Fairy How US, please show mercy. The crisis of the Tian Yuan continent is imminent. We should all work together and use all our strength against the world of forsaken saints instead of killing each other here. At this moment, the 9 Holy Emperor completely panicked. They were no longer as arrogant as before. They all began to beg for mercy. Their voices had become much softer. Humph, didn't you just say that I can't do anything to you with just a sliver of my soul? Do you really think that you could do whatever you want on the Tian Yuan continent just because you're a holy emperor? Do you really think that no one can stop you? I'll show you right now. Even if I'm just a sliver of my soul, killing you is still a piece of cake. Fairy How Yue's cold voice rang out from the divine hall. Her voice was filled with killing intent. Fairy How Yue, please show mercy. Our protector clan, the Yuan sect, will be eternally grateful. Yi Yuan School's Taishang elder also opened his mouth to beg for mercy. But perhaps even he himself was not aware that the wrinkles on his face were increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and he was rapidly aging at an incredible speed. You want to use the name of a mere protector clan to pressure me? What a joke. We're the 10 protector clans of the Tian Yuan continent. If I still had my body, I could wipe them out with a flick of my finger. I've already given you a chance before, but you're the ones who want to die. Don't blame me. The 9 of you will be the first people to die to this formation since I've created the Divine Hall. This formation is called chronology, Fairy How Yue coldly said. Chronology, a sliver of doubt flashed through the hearts of the 9 holy emperor experts. They understood the meaning of the word chronology extremely well. In a sense, it was time, a synonym for time. However, they did not understand why Fairy How Yue had named the formation chronology. No. This is impossible. This is impossible. Suddenly, a holy emperor cried out. He stared at the other 8 holy emperor experts in disbelief. His eyes were filled with shock, as if he had discovered the most unbelievable thing. The 8 holy emperor experts all looked at him. Their eyes suddenly narrowed with that glance, and they all became filled with disbelief. This was because they had discovered that the other holy emperor experts who had come with them had all become abnormally old in that short amount of time. Their aging was deepening at a visible rate. Our life force is rapidly draining away. Impossible, this is impossible. This is not an ability that a holy emperor can possess. Even Origin Realm experts who have surpassed Holy Emperor can't control such great power. A Holy Emperor cried out in despair. His face had become sheet white, without a single trace of blood. Chronology, this is chronology. No wonder this formation is called chronology. The Saint King murmured in despair. His face was ashen. He had already realized that it was probably impossible for him to escape today, because none of the 9 of them had the power to stop the temporal formation from robbing him of what little life he had left. At this moment, an independent holy emperor who had reached the 7th heavenly layer had lost all light in his eyes. He had become extremely thin, just skin and bones. His soul had been extinguished. He was the one who had lived the longest among the group. He did not have much time left, so all of it had been drained away in such a short amount of time. He became the first holy emperor expert to die to the chronology formation. The other 8 people also had white hair, and the wrinkles on their faces were squeezed together. Their bodies were drying up at a speed visible to the naked eye. A moment ago, some of them were still young men in their prime, but now they had already become old men in their last years. At this moment, all the people in the city below were stunned, as if they had just witnessed the most wondrous thing in the world. The Holy Emperor experts who had been majestic earlier had all become weathered old men. The difference was so great that many of them were unable to react. Even Yu, Bai Hai, and the other saint rulers were the same. Bang! Suddenly, a heavy sound rang out in the air. A holy emperor of Yangji Zong suddenly erupted with a bloody mist. He used a secret technique at the cost of his own body to escape, turning into a red streak of light as he fled into the distance. At almost the same time, The three other holy emperors of the protector clans used the same secret technique to escape. They paid an extremely heavy price, and only 4 independent holy emperors remained trapped. It was not that they did not have any methods to escape, but that their methods of escape could not compare to the heritage of the protector clans. They were unable to break free from the restraints of the chronology formation. Chapter 1277. Out of the 9 holy emperor experts who wanted to forcefully borrow the bright moon divine hall, the other 5 independent holy emperor had all been stripped of their life force by the time formation and died in the city. Hao Yue was no longer a merciful person. Even though the independent holy emperor had begged for mercy time and time again, they were still unable to escape death. The scene above Flame City shocked everyone in the city. The Flame mercenaries had displayed great strength once again. All the members of the Flame mercenaries became extremely excited when they saw this. Their blood began to boil. Originally, they thought that the captain of the Flame mercenaries was already heaven-defying enough. But looking at it now, Fairy Hao Yue seemed to be even more heaven-defying than the captain they revered so much. She had actually managed to kill the mighty holy emperor experts in such a short amount of time. After ending the lives of the independent holy emperor, the bright moon divine hall returned to normal. The huge, round moon above the divine hall slowly dispersed, and even the divine hall returned to its normal size. It descended back into the city lord's estate and stood there silently like a noble princess. Yu Yu was worried about Fairy Hao Yue's situation, so she entered the divine hall as soon as possible. Bai Lian began to get busy as well. She passed down various orders. The tremendous presences of the 9 holy emperor experts had thrown the city into chaos. Countless people had been injured, so there was a lot of work to be done. The space rings of the 5 independent holy emperor obviously ended up in Bai Lian's hands as well. Vice City Lord, let's just hang the corpses of the 5 holy emperor experts on the city walls to display the might of our flame mercenaries. At the same time, we'll send a warning to the various organizations on the continent. We'll let them know that even without the captain, we're not to be trifled with. A middle-aged man said to Bai Lian. A middle-aged man said to Bai Lian. He was extremely respectful. He was also one of the managers of the Flame mercenaries. Bai Lian shook her head. There's Saint Kings after all, and there's still Saint Kings. Get someone to bury them and leave them with some dignity. Yes, Vice City Lord. The middle-aged man replied politely before immediately sending a group of people to carry the corpses of the 5 holy emperor out of the city to find a place to bury them. Fairy Hao Yue's illusionary figure sat on a piece of jade in a secret room within the bright moon divine hall. Pure and clear moonlight force radiated from the jade. It was no ordinary jade. It came from a moon. Before Fairy Hao Yue, Yu Yu asked in concern, Master, are you all right? Fairy Hao Yue faintly smiled. My disciple, you don't need to worry about me. Although I'm only left with a sliver of my soul, I'm not as weak as you imagine me to be. In the past, I cast down quite a few formations both inside and outside the Bright Moon Divine Hall. These formations are far more powerful than the people of the Tian Yuan continent can imagine. Although I can't unleash the full power of the formations due to the limited materials, they can still block the attacks of the Holy Emperor with ease. The Time Moon formation happens to be one of them. It's just that activating these formations consumes quite a lot of energy. Although you can replenish it by absorbing the energy of others, it's still not enough. As a result, my disciple, you can't rely on me everywhere in the future. Increasing your own strength is the most important thing. Yes, Master. I will definitely work even harder in the future, Yu Yu said with determination. The Holy Emperor experts from all over the Tian Yuan continent had all gathered in a majestic hall within the miniature world of Mercenary City. They sat in a circle on the ground as they discussed how to stop the world of Forsaken Saints. There were over 400 Holy Emperor experts gathered there now. They were most of the Holy Emperor experts on the Tian Yuan continent. Although the Supreme Divine Hall of our Mercenary City is extremely tough, we still don't know if it can stop the Reciprocity expert from the world of Forsaken Saints. On the other hand, the Emperor armaments of the Protector clans are extremely powerful. Even several Holy Emperor experts working together will struggle to control them. As a result, I suggest that the Protector clans bring all their Emperor armaments here and temporarily give them to Great Elder Tianjin, who has reached the level of Holy Emperor. He should be able to unleash even greater power. May I ask what everyone thinks? The Grand Elder of Mercenary City said slowly as he glanced past the people of the Protector clans. Our Heaven's Incense School has no objections. We're willing to give the Emperor armaments to Great Elder Tianjin for now. The schoolmaster of the Heaven's Incense School was the first to agree to the Grand Elder's suggestion. After a moment of thought, the Pavilion Master said, Great Elder Tianjin's strength has already reached the level of Holy Emperor. His strength is incomparable to ours, so there's obviously no reason for us to give the Protector artifact to Great Elder Tianjin. It's just that our Protector artifact is rather special. It's slightly different from the other 9 Protector clans. Only people who practice our cultivation method can control it, so I'm afraid we'll have to disappoint the Grand Elder. A Great Elder from the Mayuan clan said, Grand Elder, the Emperor armaments of our Protector clans have reached an extremely terrifying level. Even when several Holy Emperor experts work together to control them, they will suffer an extremely powerful backlash. Probably only experts at the level of Holy Emperor can use them as they wish. However, can Great Elder Tianjin use so many Emperor armaments by himself? Even if Great Elder Tianjin becomes a Holy Emperor, he probably won't be able to control so many Emperor armaments at the same time. The Great Elder asked the question that was on the minds of many people present, especially the people from the Protector clans. They also doubted whether Tianjin could control so many Emperor armaments by himself. After all, the Emperor armaments of the Protector clans were anything but ordinary. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City chuckled. The Emperor armaments of the Protector clans have reached a level of power that terrifies us. Although Great Elder Tianjin has become a Saint Emperor, it's still extremely difficult for him to control so many Emperor armaments at the same time. However, Old Man obviously has other intentions for lending them to Great Elder Tianjin. May I ask what the Grand Elder's intentions are? Do the Emperor armaments have other uses? A Great Elder from the Heartless sect asked. The Grand Elder pondered for a moment before replying. Our mercenary city has quite a few secret techniques left behind by City Lord Mo Tianyan. These techniques all possess unfathomable abilities, and some of them can only be practiced by Holy Emperor experts. Now that Great Elder Tianjin has become an emperor, he can grasp a few secret techniques that only Holy Emperor experts can learn. There just happens to be a secret technique that can use the Emperor armaments of your Protector clans to cast down a powerful ancient slaughter formation, activating the hidden power within the Emperor armaments to unleash terrifying attacks. Everyone just think about it. If you cast down such a terrifying ancient slaughter formation in the tunnel to the world of Forsaken Saints, just how shocking would the effects be? The eyes of many people present lit up with that. At the same time, they were secretly surprised. The heritage of Mercenary City was actually no weaker than the Protector clans. They actually possessed such a high-level secret technique that only Holy Emperor experts could learn. Protecting the Tian Yuan continent has always been the duty of us Protector clans. Since the world of Forsaken Saints is so powerful, we should all work together. We can't ignore the safety of the continent for our personal interests. Our Shenshao sect is willing to lend out our Emperor armaments. Our Patian sect is willing to lend out our Emperor armaments as well. Our Mayuan clan is willing to lend out our Emperor armaments as well. Our Yangji zone is willing to lend out our Emperor armaments. The Yuan sect is willing to lend out our Emperor armaments. The people of the Protector clans all expressed their opinions. In the blink of an eye, 8 of them agreed to lend out their Emperor armaments. Only the Tyrant's Blade School and the people of the Chanyang Prefecture remained silent. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City immediately looked at the Holy Emperor experts in Chanyang Zushao. The Holy Emperor experts of the Tyrant's Blade School hesitated. One of them braced himself and said, "The founding ancestor of our Tyrant's Blade School, Guohai Yi Dao, has already returned. The Emperor armament is currently in the founding ancestors' hands, so we refuse to lend it out. However, we believe that the Emperor armament will be even more powerful in the founding ancestors' hands. Originally, the Tyrant's Blade School wanted to hide the news of their founding ancestors' return as much as possible, but there was no point in hiding it now that something so major had happened on the Tianyuan continent. Moreover, they had personally witnessed their founding ancestors' supreme strength when the 100 races invaded the Tyrant's Blade School. They were confident that even if their founding ancestors' identity was exposed, no one on the Tianyuan continent would be able to threaten him. This was because even the Holy Emperor would not be able to threaten him. However, the news from the Saint Kings of the Tyrant's Blade School seemed to explode in everyone's heads like a bolt of lightning. All of them became stunned as they stared at the Saint Kings in disbelief. Not a single one of them believed what the Saint Kings of the Tyrant's Blade School had said. "What did you say? Your founding ancestor has returned?" "Xingfeng, what are you talking about?" A Holy Emperor expert who was on good terms with the Tyrant's Blade School asked in surprise. His gaze toward Xingfeng was strange. Xingfeng also knew that it was very difficult for everyone to believe what he had just said, but he did not explain too much. He indifferently said, "It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. Our Tyrant's Blade School cannot lend out the Emperor armament." Quite a few people immediately came to a realization when they heard Xingfeng's words. None of them believed what Xingfeng had just said. They only treated it as an excuse for why Xingfeng was unwilling to lend out the Emperor armament. Even though the excuse was extremely exaggerated to the point where no one believed it, no one mentioned it again. After all, the Emperor armament belonged to the Tyrant's Blade School. If they were unwilling to lend it out, they could not force them. Chapter 1278. Chanyang Zhu Xiao raised his eyes and emotionlessly said, "Our Zhu branch has already broken away from the Protector Chanyang clan. We no longer have anything to do with the Protector Chanyang clan. Yunxia and I are obviously not here to represent the Protector Chanyang clan. There's no need for the Grand Elder to ask us about borrowing the Emperor armament." Everyone in the hall was shocked by Chanyang Zhu Xiao's words. Many of them were filled with disbelief. Many of the experts from the Holy Emperor gathered here had a certain understanding of the protector clans of Chanyang Prefecture. Chanyang Prefecture was split into the Zhu, Yuan, and Qing branches. Throughout countless years, the three branches had always been united. Even if there were disagreements from time to time, they would never pose too great of a threat to the stability of the protector clans. Yet today, the representative of the Zhu branch had actually said that the Zhu branch had already broken away from Chanyang Prefecture and no longer had anything to do with Chanyang Prefecture. Many people found this unbelievable. "Chanyang Zhu Xiao, are you telling the truth? Have the people of your Zhu branch really broken away from the Protector clan?" The Grand Elder of Mercenary City sternly asked. This was a major matter. "Chanyang Zhu Xiao, are you joking? Your Zhu, Yuan, and Qing branches have been on good terms for over 1,000,000 years. Since ancient times until now, the three branches have always been of the same breadth and branch. Why do they suddenly split up?" A ruddy old man beside Chanyang Zhu Xiao asked. He was a great elder of the Moyuan clan and had a good relationship with Chanyang Zhu Xiao. At this moment, everyone looked at Chanyang Zhu Xiao and Chanyang Zhuyan Xiao, especially the Holy Emperor experts from the Yuan sect and Yangji zone. They all secretly cheered inside. Chanyang Prefecture had split and suffered a great loss of strength. This was something they were extremely willing to see. Chanyang Zhu Xiao remained emotionless. This matter had greatly affected him as well. He heavily said, "How can I joke about something so major? Old man is obviously telling the truth. Our Zhu branch no longer has anything to do with the Protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture." The hall immediately fell silent. However, the people present had already accepted the fact that the Zhu branch had broken away from Chanyang Prefecture. Although this was a shocking piece of news to the Tianyuan continent, it did not affect them in any way. However, many people had already realized that Chanyang Prefecture's strength had been greatly reduced. They would definitely fall from their position as the greatest protector clan and might even fall to the bottom of the 10 protector clans. This made the people from the other protector clans secretly happy. Since the Zhu branch has already broken away from Chanyang Prefecture, may I ask why the people from the Qing and Yuan branches that represent Chanyang Prefecture aren't here? A holy emperor expert from a protector clan asked out of curiosity. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City looked around and discovered that there really were no people from the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture. As a result, he said to a holy emperor beside him, "Sixth Elder, please go to Chanyang Prefecture and invite them to Mercenary City so that we can discuss how to deal with the world of Forsaken Saints." The sixth elder immediately stood up and clasped his fist at the people around him. He loudly said, "Everyone, please excuse this old man for a moment." Afterward, the sixth elder directly left the miniature world of Mercenary City. Although the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture was still extremely far away from Mercenary City, it was only a few seconds before a holy emperor expert. The sixth elder returned to Chanyang Prefecture in less than 10 minutes. He sternly said, "Grand Elder, I've paid a visit to Chanyang Prefecture and discovered that it's been sealed. Not only can we not enter, but the people inside can't leave either. All methods of communication are useless." What? The Grand Elder's face changed, and he immediately stood up. Even the Holy Emperor experts gathered. They were shocked. A mighty protector clan had actually been sealed and trapped in a miniature world. This was just too shocking to everyone present. Sixth Elder, is what you said true? Chanyang Prefecture has actually been sealed in a miniature world. That's a protector clan with great heritage. Just who else on the Tian Yuan continent possesses such great abilities? Even the Path Lord of Carnal Desires can't do something like this. An independent Holy Emperor questioned. The Grand Elder did not ask any more questions. He stared deeply at Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yun Xiao and said, "Changyang Zhu Xiao, our Tian Yuan continent is currently facing a crisis of life and death. Although we don't know what has happened to your Chanyang Prefecture, we are in need of people right now. We want to break through the seal of Chanyang Prefecture. Do the two of you have any objections?" At that moment, the gazes of all the Holy Emperor experts toward Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yun Xiao changed slightly. There was admiration and disdain. Many of them had already guessed that the Zhu branch had something to do with the Zhu branch when they broke away from Chanyang Prefecture. Changyang Zhu Xiao gently sighed. He knew that many people had probably misunderstood the people of the Zhu branch, so he could not help but explain, "It's all because of the saint's fruit. When Jianxian obtained a saint's fruit, Changyang Qingyan wanted to take it from him, which led to an unprecedented civil war in Chanyang Prefecture. In his fury, Jianshan worked together with the three magical beasts to seal up Chanyang Prefecture. This matter has always been the greatest pain in my heart. If you want to break through the seal now and let the people of the Qing and Yuan branches regain their freedom, we of the Zhu branch obviously won't have any objections." Everyone immediately came to a realization with Changyang Zhu Zhao's explanation. However, they were stunned once again by the heaven-defying methods of Jianshan and the three magical beasts. They could even seal up a protector clan. Even the Holy Emperor would struggle to accomplish something so heaven-defying. This was because every single protector clan possessed methods to fend off the Holy Emperor. I guess that this would be the outcome. Changyang Qingyan is far too greedy. They didn't do much when they fought for the saint's fruit, so why should Jianshan hand it over? In my opinion, the people of the Yuan and Qing branches have only themselves to blame. They can't blame anyone else. The Holy Emperor from Mayuan clan, who had close ties with Changyang Zhu Xiao, said with righteous indignation. At this moment, four bloodied and horrible experts from the Holy Emperor stumbled into the hall. Every single one of them had aged beyond recognition. Their presence of life was extremely weak. It's Jiantian, a great elder from a Yangji zone, recognized one of them and immediately paled in fright. He arrived before the four of them in a flash and stared at Jiantian in disbelief. He cried out, "Jiantian, how did you become like this? It's fairy how you act." The fairy Hao Yue used a formation to strip us of our presence of life. Jian Tian weakly replied. As soon as he said that, he seemed to lose all his strength and directly collapsed on the ground. His body withered at a visible rate, becoming a dry corpse very soon. Afterwards, the other 3 Holy Emperor experts who had escaped from the time formation also collapsed on the ground, following in Jinqian's footsteps. The faces of Yang Jizong and the great elders from the Yuan sect all turned extremely ugly. They had already recognized the other 3. They were the Holy Emperor experts from their 2 sects who had gone to Raging Flame City to borrow the Bright Moon Divine Temple. They hadn't expected that not only would they fail to borrow the Bright Moon Divine Temple, but they would also lose their lives. Losing 2 Holy Emperor experts all at once was an extremely heavy loss for the Yang Jizong and the Yuan sect. This fairy Hao Yue has gone too far. It's fine that she didn't want to borrow the Bright Moon Divine Temple, but why did she have to kill the great elders of our Yuan sect and the Yang Jizong? We can't let this matter rest. A Holy Emperor expert from the Yuan sect said with a pained expression. Our Yang Jizong will definitely seek justice for this matter. The great elders of Yang Jizong were all filled with killing intent. Losing 2 Holy Emperor experts all at once had reduced the overall strength of the Yang Jizong by 30%. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City stepped forward and said with a heavy voice, "Please restrain your grief. The matter at hand is to find a way to deal with the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints. We'll go talk to Fairy Hao Yue once we've dealt with the threat of the world of Forsaken Saints." That's right. There are priorities. The world of Forsaken Saints is our greatest threat. Let's put aside the grievances between the Yang Jizong and the Yuan sect and Fairy Hao Yue for now. Moreover, Fairy Hao Yue can deal with 9 Holy Emperor experts so easily, and she even has such a heaven-defying formation to protect her. She must be very difficult to deal with. We can't cause any more problems right now, said the pavilion head. The pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion spoke up. Aside from the great elder of Mercenary City, the pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion was the most authoritative person there. Yang Jizong and the great elders of the Yuan sect fell silent. In the end, they chose to follow the Grand Elder and the pavilion head's decision. They had witnessed Fairy Hao Yue's strength from the fate of the Holy Emperor experts. Even though she was only left with her soul, she was not as weak as they had imagined her to be. If they wanted revenge, they needed to borrow the strength of a group. Afterward, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City and over 20 Holy Emperor experts from various organizations set off for Chanyang Prefecture. At the same time, they sent envoys to the 100 races, magical beasts, and sea race with great gifts to inform them of the world of Forsaken Saints. Chanyang Qing Yun, Chanyang Qing Juri, Chanyang Qing Yunfeng, Chanyang Yuan Wuji, and Chanyang Yuan Zhenghua hovered in the air with sunken faces in the miniature world of the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture. They stared in the direction of the World Gate. During the months they had been sealed, they would use their full strength to break the seal every once in a while. They had even used their Emperor armaments a few times, but they still failed to break through the seal. The power of the seal had completely exceeded their expectations. Even a Holy Emperor would struggle to break through this seal. Are we just going to be trapped here until we die? Chanyang Qingjuri asked with a sunken face. No. Maintaining the seal requires an extremely great amount of energy. As long as the seal exists, a portion of the energy will be depleted. Once the energy is completely depleted, we can break through the seal. However, we still need to constantly attack the seal during this period of time to increase the depletion of its energy so that we can break free sooner, Chanyang Qingyun said with a sunken face. Chanyang Qingyun said coldly. As a mighty protector clan, they had actually been trapped in a miniature world. This was a humiliation that they would never be able to wash away. Once we break free, I'll deal with Jinshin no matter the cost, Chanyang Qing Yunfeng also said with a sunken face. Heavy killing intent filled his eyes. Chapter 1279. Several tens of thousand kilometers away from Mercenary City, Chanyang Zuyunkong and Huang Tianba had carved out a cave on a mountain peak. They currently sat in their respective caves and cultivated. They did not pay too much attention to what had happened in Mercenary City. Back then, several hundred holy emperor experts had gathered in Mercenary City. There was even a great elder, Tianjin, who had become a holy emperor. If even these supreme experts could not deal with the situation, the two of them would not be able to do anything as mere saint rulers. The two of them had obtained Xiao Ling's assistance in the depths of Mercenary City, allowing their strength to increase rapidly. They could be described as advancing at a tremendous pace, even though they were still saint rulers. Even though they were still saint rulers, they were both at the peak of the 9th heavenly layer, only a step away from becoming a holy emperor. There was an extremely large gap between saint rulers and holy emperors. The two of them had already secretly made up their minds to charge through that tough barrier in a single stroke and become a holy emperor. Chanyang Zuyunkong's talent was much greater than Huang Tianba's. In the past, he could only remain a heaven saint master because of the seal in his head, unable to reach sainthood. Now that the seal had been removed, and with Shaoling's assistance, his strength increased at an astounding rate. He had already caught up to Huang Tianba, and with the talent he had displayed, it was even possible for him to break through before Huang Tianba. Other than the two of them, even the loyal guard that Jianshen had brought from the Radiant Saint Master Union, Yang Ling, was cultivating in the mountains. He was over 1,000 kilometers away from the two of them. Yang Ling's talent was much more mediocre compared to the two of them. When Jianshen had brought him out of the Radiant Saint Master Union, Yang Ling was already a 6-cycle Heaven Saint Master and had remained at that level for many years. However, after cultivating in Mercenary City for a period of time, he was still a 6-cycle Heaven Saint Master. The difference between a Heaven Saint Master and a Saint Ruler was as great as a chasm, because it was a difference of an entire realm. Becoming a Saint Ruler required a corresponding amount of talent and comprehension. It was not something that could be achieved through arduous cultivation. After emerging from the underground space of Mercenary City, Ming Dong did not stay with Huang Tianba and Chanyang Zuyunkong. Instead, he returned to Flame City alone and checked on the current situation of the city. At the same time, he learned that Jianshen was in the Sea Realm. Afterwards, Ming Dong remained in Flame City. He continued to cultivate in a secret room deep beneath the city. At the same time, Bai Hai and Bai Lian gave a batch of high-class monster cores to Ming Dong. A portion of them had been left behind by Jianshen, while a portion had been left behind by the Holy Emperor who had died to the temporal formation not long ago. Chanyang Qingyun and the other great elders stood side by side in the sealed miniature world of the Protector Clan, Chanyang Prefecture. They hovered in the air as they silently stared in the direction of the World Gate. Their eyes were filled with anger and resentment, as well as some helplessness. Bang! Suddenly, a heavy sound rang out from the direction of the World Gate. Ripples appeared in the space near the World Gate, causing the energy of the world and the surroundings to churn. All the saint rulers sealed in the Chanyang clan were alarmed by this. The sudden change in the World Gate immediately attracted the attention of the 5 great elders. Their eyes immediately lit up as they stared in the direction of the World Gate in interest. Bang! A second muffled sound came from the direction of the Realm Gate. This time, not only was the sound much louder than before, even the ripples in the space around the Realm Gate had become even more ferocious. Powerful energy shockwaves revolved around the Realm Gate and shook it. Many saint rulers flew over from various places and gathered behind the 5 great elders. They were all gloomy and miserable. One of the 9th heavenly layer saint rulers politely asked, "Great elders, what has happened?" The 5 great elders all remained silent. They stared in the direction of the World Gate sternly. Only when the third sound rang out did their expressions finally change. They all became extremely excited. Someone is attacking the seal from outside. Fantastic! Someone has finally discovered that Chanyang Prefecture has been sealed. They're currently destroying the seal from outside. Chanyang Qingjuri immediately cried out. Chanyang and Qingjuri immediately cried out in joy. During the time that they had been trapped, they had tried countless methods to contact the people outside, but all of them had ended in failure. This was because the seal that blocked the world gate was extremely powerful and profound. It could cut off all methods of communication. Even if they used ancient secret techniques, they could not pass through the seal and send a message out. Chanyang Qing Yun, Chanyang Qing Yun Feng, Chanyang Yuan Wuji, and Chanyang Yuan Zhenghua were overjoyed as well. They had been waiting for this day for far too long. Although being sealed up here did not pose any threat to their lives, none of them wished to be locked up in a prison by someone else. Let's move immediately and attack the seal from the inside. We can work with the people outside, so it'll be easier to destroy the seal, Chanyang Qing Yun immediately called out. The four other great elders nodded at the same time. They all began to attack the seal as hard as they could. Immediately, a tremendous pressure crushed down from the surroundings, permeating the entire miniature world of Chanyang Prefecture. It seemed to have frozen the air and caused the energy of the world to become still. The 5 Holy Emperor experts were extremely eager to destroy the seal, so they used powerful Saint Tier battle skills right from the start. With their strength as Saint Kings, using Saint Tier battle skills was a piece of cake. They finished charging up in a single moment, and an extremely powerful sword chi erupted from the sword in Chanyang Qing Yun's hand. He swung a 100-meter-long sword chi toward the seal of the world gate. Chanyang Qing Juri did not use a saint weapon. He directly struck out with his palm, and the surging energy transformed into a hand several dozen meters wide, striking the world gate with lightning-like speed. Extremely powerful wind-attributed saint force permeated Chanyang Qing Yunfeng's surroundings before turning into a gust of wind that enveloped him. The gust of wind rapidly revolved, reaching into the sky and connecting to the very top of the miniature world. It stirred up the energy of the world in the miniature world from its initial stillness into a frenzy. Afterward, Chanyang Qing Yunfeng swung his arms, and the gust of wind around him immediately shot toward the world gate, causing the surrounding space to violently distort. A 3-meter-wide fireball hovered above Chanyang Yuan Wuji's head. It shone like the sun as a terrifying heat permeated the miniature world, causing the temperature there to rapidly rise. With a wave of his hand, the huge fireball immediately turned into a red streak of light and shot toward the world gate with lightning-like speed. Chanyang Yuan Zhenghua also shot out a powerful strand of sword chi toward the world gate. Wherever the sword chi passed, the space there would ripple. The Saint Tier battle skills used by 5 Holy Emperor experts at the same time were so great that they were enough to destroy the world. Even a miniature world that was much tougher than the outside world found it rather difficult to endure. The figures of the 18 divine halls appeared in the sky, stabilizing the space there. Outside the world gate of Chanyang Prefecture, over 20 Holy Emperor experts sternly hovered in the air with the Grand Elder in the lead. All of them cast their gazes toward the invisible seal in front of them. The 3 magical beasts really are capable. The seal they cast down is actually so powerful. We've already attacked it 3 times, but it still hasn't broken through. The Grand Elder could not help but sigh in amazement. He was filled with admiration for Rui Jin, Heiyu, and Heiyu. Afterward, he glanced past the Holy Emperor experts in the surroundings and loudly said, "Everyone, the seal is far more powerful than we expected. Let's use our full strength and break through the seal together." All right, let's all get ready. We'll attack at the same time under the Grand Elder's command. A Holy Emperor expert from a Protector clan loudly replied. The Great Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjin, had already become a Holy Emperor. At the same time, he had the protection of the Barrier Spirit, which had surpassed the Holy Emperor and reached returnance. Even the Protector clans of the Tian Yuan continent could not compare to him in terms of strength. As a result, Mercenary City had vaguely become the leader of the continent, the undisputed representative of the Protector clans. The 5 Saint Tier battle skills used by Chanyang Qing Yun and the others basically struck the seal at the same time in the miniature world. The seal immediately began to violently tremble, but their combined battle skills were still unable to break through the seal. At this moment, the experts outside the world gate also unleashed a powerful attack. The attack was clearly much more powerful than the 5 Saint Tier battle skills. After enduring such a powerful attack, the seal cast down by Ruijin finally collapsed and collapsed. Chanyang Prefecture, which had been sealed up for several months, could finally see the light of day again. Chanyang Qingyun and the others did not wait for the chaotic streams of energy to calm down as soon as the seal was broken. They eagerly charged out. As soon as they arrived outside, they discovered over 20 Holy Emperor experts hovering in the air. Chanyang Qingyun and the others obviously knew that it was all thanks to the assistance of the Holy Emperor experts that they were able to escape. Without any hesitation, the 5 of them immediately clasped their hands in gratitude. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City raised his hand and said, "The 10 Protector clans were originally one family with our Mercenary City. We all silently protect the continent. It was nothing, so there's no need to thank us." Chapter 1280. Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they heard that, including the Grand Elder. They could not help but think about the world of Forsaken Saints. Did Chanyang Qingyun learn about the world of Forsaken Saints before us? A Holy Emperor thought. Chanyang Qingyun paused for a while. He became extremely stern. "You must still remember the war god of the 100 races who invaded our Tian Yuan continent in ancient times and slaughtered many of our experts. Now that the war god of the 100 races has reappeared, he'll definitely create a storm of blood on the Tian Yuan continent once he matures. Now that the war god of the 100 races is by Jian Chen's side, we need to kill the war god of the 100 races while he's still in the cradle, or our Tian Yuan continent will face another great disaster." Aside from the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, everyone became shocked when they heard that. The war god of the 100 races was one of the 4 existences who had surpassed the Holy Emperor in ancient times. He had once left behind an extremely terrifying nightmare for the humans. Even the 10 Protector clans were unable to stop him even when they used everything they had. If it were not for the appearance of Mo Tianyun in the final moment and repelling Ruijin, the Tian Yuan continent probably would have ended up in the hands of the 100 races. The news of the war god's reappearance was just far too shocking to everyone. Only the Grand Elder of Mercenary City remained the same. He chuckled like nothing had happened. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. The war god of the 100 races has appeared at just the right time. Now that our Tian Yuan continent is facing a crisis of life and death, we're in dire need of power. The war god's appearance is like sending coal in the snow. The Grand Elder is extremely correct. Not only has the war god of the 100 races reappeared, but even the ancient divine beast, the winged tiger, has been reborn. If they grow up, they'll all become Origin Realm experts. They'll be the peak power of our world, said the ancestral emperor of the Felicity Empire. Chanyang Qingyun and the others became stunned by the ancestral emperor's words. They became rather confused. The 5 of them glanced past the 20 or so Holy Emperor experts who had saved them with a strange expression. Not only did they not see the heavy expressions they had in the past half a year, but there were even quite a few of them who were delighted. In ancient times, the war god of the 100 races had an irreconcilable enmity with the magical beasts and humans, and the Tian Yuan continent had almost fallen into the hands of the 100 races. Now that the war god of the 100 races had reappeared, he would become an existence that surpassed the Holy Emperor before long. With the current strength of the Tian Yuan continent, there was no power that could stand up to him. However, not only did the Holy Emperor experts not do anything to kill the war god of the 100 races while he was still growing, they even felt happy. This immediately made Chanyang Qingyun and the others doubt whether they were still on the Tian Yuan continent, and whether the 20 Holy Emperor experts before them were humans or not. This was because in the eyes of Chanyang Qingyun and the others, probably only the experts of the 100 races would be able to rejoice after learning that the war god had reappeared. Chanyang Qingyun, now that you've broken free, please come with us to Mercenary City. Something major has happened on the Tian Yuan continent. We've already sent out invitations with the other Protector clans, inviting all the Holy Emperor experts on the continent to gather in Mercenary City. Even some of the human experts from overseas have been invited, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City said with a serious expression. Something major has happened on the Tianyuan continent. Have you already known that the war god of the 100 races has reappeared? Are you gathering all the experts of the world to deal with the war god? Changyang Qing Yun asked in doubt. In his opinion, nothing was more important than the reappearance of the war god of the 100 races. However, what he did not understand was why some of the Holy Emperor experts were so happy when he mentioned the war god. He could not figure it out, no matter how hard he thought about it. The Grand Elder's stern face immediately melted away from Changyang Qingyun's words. He bitterly smiled and shook his head. If it were before, the reappearance of the war god of the 100 races would obviously be a great problem for us. But the situation is different now. The seal beneath Mercenary City has been broken, so the experts from the world of Forsaken Saints can attack our Tianyuan continent at any time. Our Tianyuan continent is in dire need of strength right now, so the war god's sudden appearance at such a crucial time is obviously a joyous matter for us. What? The world of Forsaken Saints? Was what Grand Elder Tian Jian said a few years ago true? Changyang Yuan Wuji was immediately surprised as he asked in disbelief. The expressions of Changyang Qing Yun, Changyang Qing Juri, Changyang Qing Yinfeng, and Changyang Yuan Zhenghua all changed slightly when they heard that. They looked at each other and saw deep shock in each other's eyes. They had heard about the matter of the seal beneath Mercenary City from Tianjin in the past, but it was just too exaggerated and too bizarre. None of them believed it. Could it be that it's true? Changyang Qingyun and the others all thought inside. Actually, when they mentioned that the war god of the 100 races had reappeared, they vaguely knew the answer from the expressions of the experts from the Holy Emperor. Everyone, time is short. Please visit Mercenary City right now and discuss the important matter. The Grand Elder invited them again. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City invited him again. Without saying anything else, he directly ripped open space and created a space gate before leaving. Afterwards, the 20-odd experts from the Holy Emperor who had come with the Grand Elder all created space gates and left as well. Changyang Qingyun and the others saw that everyone had left. After a moment of thought, they hurriedly handed over a few matters before closing the world gate to Changyang Prefecture. They ripped open a space gate and left, hurrying to Mercenary City. When they arrived in Mercenary City, they discovered that the city had been reduced to ruins with a single glance. Their hearts immediately sank slightly. They had never thought that something so major would happen on the Tianyuan continent in the few months they had been trapped in the miniature world. Changyang Qingyun and the others were invited into the miniature world of Mercenary City. The number of experts from the Holy Emperor gathered there rapidly increased. Mercenary City had already contacted the 10 protector clans, the 3 great empires, and many ancient clans to invite all the Holy Emperor experts on the Tianyuan continent. Even the human Holy Emperor who cultivated overseas had hurried over. All the experts from the Holy Emperor gathered there were rather heavy-hearted, causing the atmosphere in the hall to become rather oppressive. The news regarding the world of Forsaken Saints weighed on their chests like a boulder, suffocating them. Changyang Qingyun and the others naturally discovered Changyang Zhu Xiao and Changyang Zhu Yunxiao in the crowd. Their eyes seemed to spit fire. However, the 5 of them understood that this was not a suitable place to resolve the internal conflicts of their clans. At the same time, they had come into conflict with the Zhu branch over the saint's fruit. It was not a glorious matter, so Changyang Qingyun naturally did not wish for this matter to spread. As a result, he just closed his eyes and treated the 2 of them as if they did not exist. At this moment, a gentle, heavenly, and melodious sound of a zither suddenly rang out from outside. The sudden sound of the zither seemed to possess a boundless charm. It possessed a mysterious power, soothing the heavy hearts of all the experts from the Holy Emperor who heard it. The sound of the zither seemed to have erased all the worries and unhappiness of the Holy Emperor experts, silently allowing them to return to their normal states of mind. In the blink of an eye, the heavy atmosphere in the hall vanished. It was replaced by a light and lively atmosphere. All the experts from the Holy Emperor were greatly shocked when they sensed a change in their mental state. They all turned their heads toward the entrance and saw a tall, veiled woman in purple clothes leisurely walk in with a zither in her arms. This woman did not emit any aura at all. She looked like an ordinary person who had never cultivated before. However, the aura she exuded was filled with nobility, holiness, and transcendence. She was like an otherworldly fairy. The woman's eyes were bright and captivating. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly, it wasn't difficult to guess her beauty just by looking at her limpid eyes. What a peerless beauty! Why have I never heard of this woman's legend? At that moment, many of the experts from the Holy Emperor in the hall secretly sighed in amazement. At the same time, they all thought the same thing. Very few of them actually knew about the woman. That's strange. She's clearly not plucking the zither strings, but I can feel that the music is coming from her. Just how is this music produced? And how is she able to produce the music without using her hands or the zither? The Holy Emperor was filled with curiosity. He could not figure out no matter how he thought about it. Even with his knowledge, he was unable to explain it. She's actually Hao Wu's daughter, known as the Heavenly Enchantress. I never thought that her way of the zither would have reached such an unfathomable level. She's actually able to affect the mind of the Holy Emperor. It's truly unbelievable, thought a well-dressed old man in the crowd. However, he soon sighed and became gloomy. The old man was the ancestor of the Tsar family, as well as Tsar Sayun's great-grandfather. The Heavenly Enchantress steadily walked into the hall with her zither. She did not even glance at the experts of the Holy Emperor in the surroundings. She only looked at the elders of Mercenary City and bowed slightly. She gently said, "I've come to participate in the banquet of Mercenary City. Greetings to the elders of Mercenary City." It was obvious from the Heavenly Enchantress tone that she respected the elders of Mercenary City. I never thought that Shangguan would come to our Mercenary City so soon. I had thought it would take a few more days for you to arrive. What's even more unexpected is that in just a few decades, Shangguan Er's comprehension of the way of the zither has reached such an unfathomable level. It's truly shocking. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City smiled. "So it's you." As soon as the Grand Elder finished speaking, another loud voice rang out. Under Changyang Qingyun's lead, the 5 great elders of Changyang Prefecture all stood up. They all glared at the Heavenly Enchantress as they were furious. That's right, it's her. She was the one who secretly used her zither to make all the clansmen of Changyang Prefecture fall into a slumber, preventing us from casting down the origin formation. Otherwise, why would our Changyang Prefecture have been sealed up by the 3 magical beasts? Changyang Qing Jury furiously said. Chapter 1281. All the Holy Emperor experts present were secretly shocked when they heard what the great elders of Changyang Prefecture had said. Their gazes toward the Heavenly Enchantress underwent a drastic change as well. Some of them even began to feel extremely fearful of her. Although they did not know the exact strength of the Heavenly Enchantress, she was actually bold enough to provoke even the Protector clans. At the same time, Changyang Qingyun and the others had revealed that the Heavenly Enchantress was the reason why Changyang Prefecture had been sealed. Just this alone was not something a regular person could do. The Holy Emperor elders of Mercenary City all became doubtful. A few of them were extremely familiar with the Heavenly Enchantress, but in their understanding, the Heavenly Enchantress definitely did not possess the ability to influence a powerful Protector clan. Changyang Qingyun, what's going on? Is there some misunderstanding between you and Shangguan Mu'er? The Grand Elder of Mercenary City asked in doubt. He also refused to believe that the Heavenly Enchantress possessed the strength to shake up a Protector clan. Perhaps it was because the Heavenly Enchantress' path of cultivation was different, but none of them could tell her strength. At the same time, the Heavenly Enchantress had concealed her presence, which made it even more difficult for them to see through her strength. As a result, the elders of Mercenary City still believed her to be a saint ruler. Changyang Qingyun stared at the Heavenly Enchantress with a sunken face. He gritted his teeth and said, "So you're called Shangguan Mu'er?" Afterward, Changyang Qingyun looked at the Grand Elder of Mercenary City and said with a pale face, "Back then, the traitor Jinshin, and the three magical beasts attacked our Changyang prefecture and then used a secret technique in an attempt to seal up the world gate of our miniature world. They wanted to trap everyone in Changyang prefecture. But our Changyang prefecture is a protector clan that has existed for over 1 million years. Our heritage is great. So even if the three magical beasts are no weaker than the Holy Emperor, it's still wishful thinking for them to seal up our protector clan. Many of the Holy Emperor's experts present secretly nodded when they heard that. They all understood just how powerful the protector clans were. Although the protector clans no longer produced any Holy Emperor experts, their heritage still existed. Even if a Holy Emperor personally came, he would not be able to gain anything. Sealing up the protector clans probably required several Holy Emperor experts working together. Just the three magical beasts who were only at great perfection and possessed strength no weaker than the Holy Emperor through origin energy weapons and armor were obviously unable to seal up the protector clans. Changyang Zhu Xiao, Changyang Zuyin Xiao, and the experts of the other protector clans all listened attentively. They all understood one thing. The protector clans basically all possessed the same heritage. They all possessed a powerful emperor armament, possessed 18 divine halls, and possessed a powerful origin formation that could kill Holy Emperor experts. Even if the 10 protector clans were not the opponents of 3 Saint Emperors, they would still be able to fend them off with such a great heritage. Sealing a protector clan was basically impossible because sealing a protector clan was much more difficult than defeating a protector clan. As a result, they were extremely curious about how the 3 magical beasts had sealed up Changyang Prefecture. Changyang Qing Yun continued. Afterwards, we activated the origin formation that could kill Holy Emperor experts in Changyang Prefecture. However, activating the formation required process. Just when all the experts in Changyang Prefecture were activating the formation with all their might, a zither note that could attack the soul suddenly rang out. In just a short moment, everyone in Changyang Prefecture, except for a few Holy Emperor experts, fell unconscious. The activation of the origin formation failed, and coupled with the fact that the 5 of us were exhausted, the 3 magical beasts found an opportunity to seal up Changyang Prefecture. Changyang Qingyan, what did you say? The zither note made everyone in Changyang Prefecture fall unconscious, where even saint rulers couldn't resist it. A holy emperor questioned Changyang Qingyan as soon as he finished speaking. Changyang Qingyan nodded with a heavy face. That's right. The soul attack in the zither note is extremely powerful. Only holy emperor experts can resist it. Everyone gasped. It was definitely one of a kind on the Tian-Yuan continent to be able to achieve such a wondrous effect with just music. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City asked the heavenly enchantress, Shangguan is what Changyang Qingyan said true? Were you really the one who secretly interfered back then? The holy emperor elders from Mercenary City still refused to believe it because the heavenly enchantress definitely did not possess such an ability. Her mastery of the zither was indeed extremely great, but they refused to believe that even a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler could not resist it. The heavenly enchantress nodded slightly and admitted to her actions. She then looked at Changyang Qingyan and the others and said, "Are only you protector clans allowed to bully others on the Tian-Yuan continent, and no one else is allowed to bully you? If you want revenge, then this little girl will accept it." Oof. What an ignorant girl. Do you really think you can reign supreme on the Tian-Yuan continent just because you know a little about soul attacks? I'd like to properly experience your way of music today. Changyang Qingyan became furious and immediately bellowed out. Changyang Qingyan, Shangguan or our Tian-Yuan continent, is facing an even greater threat right now. Now's not the time for internal strife. It'll only weaken our strength. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City tried to persuade the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City tried his best to stop the battle. Changyang Qingyan was already a Saint King at great perfection, so he did not believe that the heavenly enchantress was his opponent. Changyang Qingyan sneered. He had already secretly made up his mind to properly teach the heavenly enchantress a lesson. Just when he wanted to tell the Grand Elder that he would not harm the heavenly enchantress' life, the heavenly enchantress beat him to it. "Don't worry, Grand Elder. I know what I'm doing. I won't harm his life." The heavenly enchantress' voice was cold, but it was filled with great confidence. Chanyang Qingyun's face stiffened. His pale face immediately became filled with killing intent. That was what he wanted to say, but he had never thought that the heavenly enchantress would be bold enough to say something so arrogant. Chanyang Qingyun immediately became furious when he thought about how he, a mighty holy emperor at great perfection, would be looked down upon by a young girl. All the experts gathered their froze. They all stared at the heavenly enchantress strangely. Many of them secretly thought, she actually dares to look down on a holy emperor at great perfection. Does she think she's the holy emperor? Even if her mastery of the zither is so great that she can easily make saint rulers lose their battle prowess, the soul of a holy emperor at great perfection is far more powerful than a saint ruler. The heavenly enchantress and Chanyang Qingyun immediately left the miniature world of Mercenary City. After the disturbance, all the experts of the holy emperor who had gathered to discuss the world of forsaken saints temporarily stopped their discussion. They all went out to watch. The battle between the heavenly enchantress, who was skilled in musical attacks, and the holy emperor at great perfection of the Protector clan was an extremely unique battle. It attracted everyone's interest. People who were skilled in soul attacks were as rare as phoenix feathers on the Tianyuan continent. The only expert among them was the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. However, the Path Lord specialization was completely different from the heavenly enchantress way of music, so the people of the Tianyuan continent did not know much about it. It was perfect for them to use this battle to broaden their knowledge. 100 kilometers away from Mercenary City, the heavenly enchantress hovered in the air with her zither in her arms. She did not give off any energy at all, just like an ordinary person. However, the space around her pulsed in an undetectable manner. Chanyang Qingyun hovered before her emotionlessly. He wielded a slender sword that shone with a cold light. Energy surged from the sword, and the extremely powerful energy caused the surrounding space to slightly distort. Several hundred experts of the Holy Emperor gathered around the two of them. All of them hovered 10 kilometers away as they stared at the two of them. "Today, I will make you pay for your arrogance," Chanyang Qingyun coldly said. Chanyang Qingyun said coldly. With a jolt of his sword, it produced a clear thrum as a 10-meter-long sword chi shot toward the heavenly enchantress with lightning speed. The sword chi was like a streak of light as it gave off a shocking presence. Wherever it passed by, it would leave behind a clear, black crack. The heavenly enchantress remained as still as a mountain. She gently placed her slender fingers on the zither and plucked a string casually. Ding! With a clear sound, a visible sound wave shot out from the zither, heading toward Chanyang Qingyun's powerful sword chi. With a great boom, the inconspicuous sound wave collided with the 10-meter-long sword chi. The sound wave actually dispersed the shocking sword chi before continuing on without slowing down at all. It continued toward Chanyang Qingyun. Chanyang Qingyun's eyes suddenly narrowed. However, the sound wave moved extremely quickly, arriving before him in the blink of an eye. Without any hesitation, Chanyang Qingyun stabbed out with his sword. He had used 80% of his strength for the attack. When the long sword and the sound wave collided, a muffled sound rang out. The violent energy ripples tore the surrounding space apart, causing darkness to appear. The sound wave had been dispersed by Chanyang Qingyun's attack, but Chanyang Qingyun was not happy at all. Just a single sound wave had forced him to use 80% of his strength. The heavenly enchantress' strength had completely exceeded his expectations. "Let's see if you can block my Saint Tier battle skill." Chanyang Qingyun bellowed out. He immediately decided to use a Saint Tier battle skill in an attempt to end the battle quickly. "It's a pity that you no longer have the chance to use a Saint Tier battle skill," the heavenly enchantress coldly said. The heavenly enchantress coldly replied. She plucked the strings of the zither again and produced a crisp sound. The sound of the zither was like heavenly music to the ears of the spectating Saint Kings. Even though it was only a single sound, it was still enough to intoxicate them. However, the same sound exploded in Chanyang Qingyun's head like a thunderclap when he heard it. It caused his body to violently tremble, almost causing him to fall from the sky. The Saint-Tier battle skill that he was about to use was forced to stop as well. Chanyang Qingyun felt like the sound of the zither had turned into a huge hammer, viciously striking his soul. It made him dizzy and his consciousness blurred. He felt like his soul was about to shatter. The heavenly enchantress plucked the strings again, and another visible sound wave shot out. Before Chanyang Qingyun could even react, the sound wave had pierced through his left chest and pulverized his heart in a single moment. Chanyang Qingyun grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. His hazy consciousness finally began to clear up, and he immediately discovered that his heart had been destroyed. His face immediately paled. "If I wanted to kill you, you would already be dead." The heavenly enchantress returned to her posture of holding her zither as she coldly stared at Chanyang Qingyun. Chanyang Qingyun became stunned. He became dejected. He knew that the heavenly enchantress was telling the truth. If she really wanted to kill him, the sound wave only needed to strike his soul, and he would definitely be wiped out. However, what he struggled to accept was that he, a mighty holy emperor at great perfection, had actually been defeated so easily. He did not even have the power to fight back before the heavenly enchantress. He did not even have the time to use Saint-Tier battle skills and many other secret techniques. Impossible. This is impossible. Chanyang Qingyun mumbled to himself in despair. He was unable to accept this reality. In the distance, the several hundred spectating Holy Emperor experts all looked at one another. All of them were filled with disbelief. This result was just far too unexpected. A great elder of a protector clan, a holy emperor at great perfection, was actually unable to withstand a single strike from the heavenly enchantress. Just what is her strength? Is she a holy emperor at great perfection? Or is she a holy emperor? Chanyang Zhushao became dazed as shock filled his eyes. The ancestor of the Tsar family also became dumbfounded. He was unable to return to his senses for quite some time. Only after a while did he sigh at the sky. He thought, "Hao Wu is already powerful enough, but I never thought that his daughter would be even more terrifying than him. She defeated a holy emperor at great perfection so easily. Has Hao Wu's daughter already become a holy emperor? Is this really Shangwan Mu? How has she become so powerful in just a few decades? If it were me, I probably wouldn't be her opponent." The Grand Elder of Mercenary City was stunned by this as well. He was secretly astounded. Even the other elders beside him were the same. They all stared at the heavenly enchantress blankly, unable to say anything for quite some time. If Ruijin, Honglian, and He Yu were present, they would definitely discover in shock that the heavenly enchantress had become much more powerful than when she fought against the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture.